Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second class of salaries. This is second out of the six classes of series that you have got for salary income. I understand that salary head is one of the first heads of income that you are studying. Tax in general is very, very new to you. So this is different. This is a little different and offbeat from other subjects. You have maybe never have studied this earlier. It's possible. So just try to understand one head at a time, the different concepts at a time. Overall fabric is we are trying to sorry, there's some issue on my PPT. Is it okay now?
Ma'am, it's live virtual classes, not revisionary classes.
Yes, so this is live virtual class PPT. Is it visible?
Not now, but
Huh?
ma'am, first page you have written live virtual revisionary classes. On
Okay,
first
okay, okay, understood. Please ignore that. That page I'll change.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay. So, yes, so what we were saying is that salary head tax in general is new to you. So, what we are trying to do in the overall scheme of things, we are trying to calculate the taxable income in the hands of an assessee or a taxpayer. Okay, that is what we overall want to do. Calculate the taxable income and tax liability in the hands of any taxpayer. That is our overall mission of understanding taxation. Now, that individual, if that individual is a salaried individual and is in receipt of income from the head salaries, then how will you determine the taxable salary and how will you determine the tax liability on that is the mission of this chapter, this head of income. Okay. Overall, at the end of it, when you have done all heads of income, you will find that they are interlinked. The questions are very broad. You know, person is also earning salary, then person is doing something else, then person is investing, earning interest, investing in shares and selling them, earning profits on sale of shares. Then a lot of other things will come in. By then, you would have understood the calculation of different things, and you will just put them together in one place and make an overall computation. But right now, take one head at a time. Okay, this is only to calculate taxable salary income of a salaried individual, right? Okay. Now, didn't get pension. So pension we will do properly in this class. Actually, last class we could not complete it. We had just introduced it. We will solve it with a sum in this class, and you'll be able to understand pension. Okay. Before we proceed to new concepts, let's just quickly recap what we did in the last class to bring you all to pace, to warm you up for this class. Okay. We are not allowed too much of time because this is there are too many concepts to teach and too many sums to solve. But let's quickly brush up what we did. We understood basics of salary income. Okay, that there are things to consider like chargeability head, which tells you the taxable event. What is taxable? When is it taxable? In whose hands it is taxable? So salaries, chargeability. That is called chargeability of any head. Any different heads of income, you will find there is a chargeability section, which actually is the preamble to that section. That when something is taxable, what is taxable, in whose hand is it taxable. Okay. Then we did that there is a section 17 which gives meanings of various terms associated with this head, meaning of salaries, meaning of profits in lieu of salary, and other things. Then we did there is a section of deductions, that when we calculate gross salary we need to reduce some things, we reduce some deductions, and then we arrive at net salary income. Okay, so these what they are we will be doing today. All right. And we understood that chargeability is the taxable event of salary is due or receipt, whichever is earlier. Due or receipt, that means accrual or cash receipt, whichever is earlier. If it has been already offered to tax in 1 year, it will not be offered to tax in the other year when the second event happens. Okay. And what is important, there has to be an employer-employee relationship. So whether a person if he's receiving something from the other person, whether it is salary or not, for that you need to understand whether there is an employer-employee relationship or not. We did an example of Miss Sujata, whose work is acting in films. But in one case, she was acting in films and being employed with Chopra Films. And producers used to give money to Chopra Films, and Chopra Films used to give a fixed monthly remuneration to her. And we decided, okay, this is employer-employee relationship. There's a master-servant relationship. And in the other case, she would directly work for producers and she would earn money directly from producers. In that case, those producers didn't have control over her. They didn't determine her holiday schedule. They didn't determine how she's going to work, whether she will do this film or not. And therefore, that was the absence of control made it not an employer-employee relationship. And there the income would be taxed as income from profession in some other head of income. Okay, so we did that example. Then we did accrual because due is one of the taxable events, okay, for salaries, while receipt is very clear. Receipt of money is, it flows into your bank account, so it comes automatically, it's very tangibly seen that way. But accrual is a concept which you have to interpret. So for that, they generally gave you a thumb rule that salary accrues where service is performed. That means where the individual actually performs. It is very easy in this case because for performance of salary is directly linked to the physical presence of the individual. If you remove the salaried individual, there is no work. Service and service provider are intricately linked in this case. So physical presence of service provider is the place where service is rendered in this case. Okay. So it is very, in general, the rule is accrual happens where service provider is present and where service is rendered. But there were some exceptions. For example, if salary is paid by the government to Indian citizen for working abroad, you may say that work is actually performed outside. Okay, it may be received outside, may not be received outside. I'm just saying, how will you test accrual? Here, they have said that this will be deemed to accrue or arise out in India. So where they do a deeming fiction, deeming fiction means then you don't apply the standard rule. Deeming fiction is special rule. So in case of government employed Indian citizens working outside India, the special rule is it will still be deemed to accrue in India, and it will still be accordingly, you need to compare with receipt and tax it in India. But there was an exception for foreign allowances, where they said that if you pay allowances to that Indian citizen for work done outside India, because he has to sustain his cost of living also. He has gone on official duty over there. He doesn't have a house, he doesn't have fooding expenses, he has to bear everything. So if you give him allowances, then that will be exempt. That they specifically said it is going to be exempt under section 10, subsection 7. Do we need to remember all the sections? No. Just, as many, if you can remember, good. If you can't remember, then it's okay. Remember some key sections like 115 BSA because that defines the regime under which you are paying tax. And okay, that you should remember. Some important sections you should remember. All the sections you may not remember. Okay, then after accrual, we did that advance against salary is actually a loan, and loan cannot be income. Okay, so we have to differentiate advance salary from advance against salary. We did the meaning of salary, and there we found that there are so many things. There is basic salary, there is DNS allowance, house rent allowance, and there are perquisites, which means non-monetary benefits. There are profits in lieu of salary. That means something which is rendered in lieu of services performed, sometimes coming from ex-employer, past employer also. Okay. Then there are some contributions to funds. There are leave encashment. There is retirement benefits that flow when you leave the organization. So many things is salary. And then we found even after writing so many things, they are saying it's an inclusive definition. It's not an exhaustive definition. It's not an airtight container. If in the future lawmakers feel that, there's something which is going out of this list, but they should still tax it, then they can always say it is an inclusive definition. Anything of similar nature is also taxable. Okay. Then we did meaning of allowances. Allowances means monetary payments. Essentially monetary payments made by the employer to the employee to meet certain official or personal expenditure. And we saw allowances are of different types, and some can be fully taxable under both default regime or the new regime, that is, and under the optional regime, which is the old regime. So some allowances are fully taxable under both regimes. Some are partially exempt under the optional regime, but fully taxable under the default regime. Always you will find in terms of exemptions that the optional regime is better off. The default regime is slightly less because the objective of introducing default regime was that we remove gradually, we phase out all the tax incentives and exemptions, okay, and we compensate it through slight reduction in tax rate, okay. So always you will find that the higher value is the optional one, and default will be either the same or, sorry, the higher value is the default one, which will give you a higher amount of taxable salary, and the default one will be, and the optional one will be either lesser than the default one or equal to it, okay. So we found some allowances of the other kind. Then we found some allowances which are partially exempt under the optional regime and fully taxable under the default. We saw so many allowances. We saw some monetary limits associated with some of them, because some have to be incurred to meet wholly and exclusively official expenses, and but there was no prescribed monetary capping for them. Actual expenditure would matter, so ultimately it would get mapped or capped to the actual expenditure which was incurred, or the receipt of allowance, whichever is lower. And there were some allowances which were given to meet personal expenses in special places of posting. In those cases, there was a prescribed maximum exemption limit. You remember a whole list that we saw, and we said, oh my God, tribal area, altitude allowance, how will we learn all this? And then we found that, okay, there are two items which we should learn, like children education allowance and hostel allowance. And the others we may try to learn. If we are not able to, it's okay, they are less popular in exams. Okay. In those cases, actual expenditure does not matter, right? So the amount of a HRA receipt, the amount of the allowance received, or the maximum prescribed exemption limit, whichever is lower, would be giving you the amount of exemption. Then there were allowances which are partially exempt under both regimes, okay? And then there are allowances which are partially exempt, partially exempt, or fully exempt under both regimes. So we saw there are so many types of allowances. We did some illustrations on children education allowance. You must remember elder son getting 100 for elder son, he was getting 100 rupees per month. For younger son, he was getting 70 rupees per month, right? For the elder son, it was 150 rupees per month. So we said that, okay, the exemption limit is 100 rupees per month. So for the elder one, you pay tax on 50 rupees per month. And for the younger one, if 70 is lower than 100, then you cannot get further benefit. It will be capped up to 70. And so the taxable value will become nil. But under which regime would that be? That would be under optional regime, because under the default regime, there is no benefit in that case. And you would have had to pay tax on the entire allowance received. Okay. We found there were special benefits to Supreme Court, High Court judges in terms of allowances and in terms of sumptuary allowance. Somebody asked, what is sumptuary allowance? Sumptuary allowance is paid to generally very highly dignified public officials so that they can meet hospitality expenses. So we were talking about Supreme Court, High Court judges. They are of that stature. So it was paid to them. That is specifically exempt. Okay. And then we started on terminal benefits of pension, and we did pension is generally, received as annuity or annual installments after retirement, but you can choose to convert a part or whole of it into a lump sum payment immediately. Okay, that is called commuted pension. And if you continue to receive the rest of it in annual installments after retirement, that is called uncommuted pension. And we understood that commuted pension, if you receive something lump sum now, is fully taxable under both regimes. But uncommuted pension, if you want to receive it after your retirement, then lawmakers fully understand that after retirement, your regular source of income has stopped. Right now, they should empathize with you instead of levy where high taxes. So they have given some exemption in respect of the uncommuted pension. Okay, is it available under both regimes? Yes, most of these terminal benefits are available under both the regimes. Even under the default regime, you will get these kind of benefits. Okay, all right. Then we did some exceptional cases like disabled disability pension given to people in the armed forces who have been invalidated out of service because of because of physical injury that they got during the course of their duty. And we also found that some Paramveer Chakra, etc., kind of gallantry award winners, if they get pension, then for them it is exempt under both regimes. Not only what they get, but also what their family gets on their death. That is also exempt. But normally for other employees, if family gets something on death of the individual, then that is not salary income because employer-employee relationship is absent. It may be given in recognition of past employment of the employee, but it is given to family of the employee, not to the employee himself after retirement, and it is taxable under other sources. Okay, so that is also one of the heads of income, right? So employer-employee relationship test is applied over there also. Because normally when you start doing sums, they will say XY Limited has employed Mr. A. And you will tend to believe it, now that there is an employer-employee relationship. So there are very few chances of judging whether there is an employer-employee relationship. Okay, all right. Now we come to some questions in the chat box. Ma'am, what is the chargeability 15, deduction 16, section 17, employer-employee? Okay, somebody was making notes. Very good. Please make notes. Make hand notes in your copy, not just the chat box. This you will lose. What you write in your copy, you will retain. Ma'am, if the tax is high in default, then people will go for optional. Then why default introduced? Good question. See, the amount of taxable income may be higher in default regime and lower in optional regime, but they have compensated it by reduction in tax rate, tax slabs for default regime, and higher tax slabs in optional regime. So when you calculate tax liability under both regimes, then you will have to find out whichever is lower, and you accordingly choose. Every year an individual gets the right to choose which regime they want to opt. Okay, if you tell your employer something, then they will do accordingly. If you don't tell anything, then default is the default regime. Okay. All right. Let's do some homework. Okay, I should not show the answer. I should first ask you, what did you do? We will do pension, don't worry. Let's do the homework solutions quickly, very quickly. They were very, very small sums, given only to test your knowledge. So there was one sum on, if we just quickly go to which were the homework questions of the last class. Mr. Ross, Australian citizen employed in Indian Embassy in Australia, non-resident and receives salary allowances in Australia from the government of India. So this is a case of Australian citizen receiving from government of India, non-resident in India. Okay, what do you think will happen? What is taxable? Salary allowances perquisites received outside India, whether taxable or not. Does it deem to accrue or arise in India? Is there a deeming fiction, the special rule? He's an Australian citizen employed in Indian Embassy in Australia, which means he's employed by the government of India. Okay, he's an employee of government of India, stays in Australia, non-resident in India, Australian citizen. Tell me, which answer is correct? A, B, C, or D? Somebody said A. No, somebody said deemed to accrue or arise, deemed to accrue or arise. Okay, that means a lot of people are voting for B. One person said A, maximum are saying B and C. Taxable in India, allowances and perquisites are exempt. Okay. Now, people who are saying C, I see that they are listening to the class. I am very happy with people who are saying C. But I must tell you that that is a wrong answer. Okay. People who are saying C have listened to me when I said that salaries payable by government of India to Indian citizen for services rendered outside India is deemed to accrue in India and taxable in India. However, allowances given to such citizen are exempt under section 10(7). Okay, those people have listened to this. But what you missed is we were talking about Indian citizen. Here we are talking about Australian citizen. So does that deeming fiction at all apply? No. Then if special rule does not apply, then general rule will apply. What is general rule? Where the service is performed, that is the place where salary is accrued. Where is the service performed? In Australia. Okay. Is he a resident that he will pay tax on in India even on Australian salary? Is his worldwide income taxable in India? Is his worldwide income taxable in India? Still people are saying C. C is for Indian citizens, not for Australian citizens. Australian citizens, for them, normal rule applies. Normal rule means not deemed to accrue or rise in India. Salary accrues where service is performed. And where is service performed in this case? Outside India. And whether he is a resident of India? No. So will his global income or worldwide income be taxable in India? No. So is his salary of Australia taxable in India? Finally, somebody said A. Still okay B. They are negotiating. Chalo ठीक है, C नहीं तो D सही. अरे? No, exactly. So A is the right answer. Now people are agreeing and accepting that A is the right answer. Okay. Two things were important to determine A. One, he is an Australian citizen. And two, he is a non-resident in India. Okay. Chalo. Okay. That is how they confuse you. That is how they confuse you. They give you such a simple question, 2 marks. People feel, Arey Baba, it is a cakewalk. They deliberately confuse you. If you are not perfect in your concepts, then this kind of slip may happen. Okay, ma'am, how will we remember all this? That's a tension you should take later. Right now, live in the moment, try to remember what is being taught. Okay, gradually, when you familiarize yourself with the concept, then your gut feeling will give you the right instinct that, no, this is how it should be or this is how it should not be. Okay, all right. Homework number 2, question 2. Sudesh, Indian citizen, serving in the Ministry of Finance in India, transferred to Indian Embassy in UK. Similar kind of question. Indian Embassy, that means Indian government employee. Indian government employee, stationed outside in some other country. He has gone where? He's gone to UK. So he is working with the Indian Embassy in UK. Okay. But he's an employee of the government of India. Okay. So what has he got? He has got a rent from a house situated at UK, received in UK. So there is a house property situated in UK. Rent is received in UK. And then it comes to Indian bank account because he transfers money back home in India. Then there is salary received from the government of India. And then there are some foreign allowances received from the government of India. He did not come to India during this whole year. If during the whole year he has not come, then certainly he is a non-resident. Okay. So now tell me what should be taxable. First, let us evaluate 5,25,000. The rent received outside India from a house situated outside India. You people have not studied income from house property. So this answer I will give you. This rent is actually not accruing in India. This is not taxable in India for a non-resident. Had he been resident, global income would have been taxable. That's a separate story. But he is a non-resident. This rental income accrues outside India. And this is not taxable. So 0. Okay. What happens to salary from government of India received by Indian citizen working abroad? What happens? Normal rule, service performed outside India should not be taxed in India, should not deemed to accrue or arise in India. Then whether it will be taxed or not depends on your residential status. But special rule, if you are paying, if the government of India is paying to Indian citizen for services rendered outside India, then special rule, deeming fiction rule is, it is going to be taxable in India. But the allowances are exempt under section 10(7). So what should be the final answer? First amount of 5,25,000, not taxable. Second amount of 9,25,000, taxable. But the third amount of 8 lakhs, not taxable. So what is the gross taxable salary? 9,25,000. Is it the final answer? Do you conclude over here? Is it the bottom line? When they tell you calculate taxable salary, do you just do this much? Is there something you're missing? You are not realizing you're missing because I have not taught you section 16. But section 16 gives you deductions from gross salary. So every gross salary will face some deductions and then you arrive at net salary. So this is gross salary, correct? But the question is net salary. Question is taxable income, which means net salary. So you have to do something. You don't know as of now because I haven't taught you, but there is something you should do. So that at least you should remember. What you should have done, let me show. This person is under which regime? What did they tell you? This person is under the default regime, right? They told you the person is under the default regime. So under the default regime, the deduction allowed under section 16 is 75,000 or amount of salary, whichever is lower. In this case, 75,000 is lower, so you would have just reduced that. Okay, this you remember for now. You will understand. We will do it in this class itself. But when you are doing the solution, you please keep a note of that. That you have to reduce standard deduction, which is 75,000 under default regime. Okay. Chalo, I hope this is clear. And we need to now start with class 2 agenda. Okay. All right. We have done a lot of recapitulation. But I understand tax and salary both are new to you all. So I thought that maybe that kind of time should be invested. I hope now you all are up to pace. You all are actually understanding what you are studying, why you are studying. I hope that is clear. Please say yes if that is clear. What you are studying, why you are studying, is that clear to you? Yes. Okay. Chalo, okay. Next, today we will proceed to the next steps. Standard deduction 50,000. The person who's saying we will do it. You will understand why it was 50, not 50, but 75. You will understand. Okay. Today we will be doing some terminal benefits. Terminal benefits means what if you leave the organization normally at the time of retirement? Not like if you frequently keep changing jobs. These are normally the retirement or superannuation type of benefits that you get. And after revision it gives pension. Okay. All right. And we will then do some deductions under section 16, the 75,000, the 50,000 that we used. Let us understand, but be very careful. If you have a checklist in your mind or in your notes, just write. Whenever you calculate gross salary, don't end the sum there. If the question asks you to calculate taxable salary income, they mean net salary. They will not prompt you to give standard deduction. It is you who have to remember and give it. And if you don't give it, you unnecessarily lose marks, step marks at least. Okay? Please, it is the easiest step in calculation of salary income, but that should be prompted by you. It will not be given in the question. Okay? Please remember. Introduction to types of perquisites. That is yet another component of salary. We did the meaning of salary last time and we found a word called perquisites. And very common colloquial language, we call them perks. Bhai, ye employer to both perks deta hai, cash ke saath. Hai na? So that is essentially the loose meaning of it. But the technical meaning of it, cash bhi ho sakta hai kabhi kabhi in the law. Huh? So technical meaning of it, we will see. Okay. Uske baad, some perquisites we will do in detail, because if there is something not in cash now, then what problem arises is you need to value it. If something is in kind, if I give you a watch, how will you account for it? You need to first determine its value, right? So you need to first value it. And valuation, will the lawmakers leave it to your discretion? No. They will give you fixed set of rules, right? This is how you need to calculate. Because different taxpayers can't use different methods of calculation. Then there will be no standardization, and tax administration cannot run like that. Okay, so they have given you rules, right? When you have to calculate something which is directly not in monetary terms, please use these rules and then calculate. It may not be the correct market value of that item, but that is what we want for our tax purpose. Please calculate it like that. Okay, so fine. So that means if there are rules, then that means we need to remember. We cannot apply our judgment. Okay. Ma'am, do we have to remember rules? Yes. Those are calculation rules. We will have to remember. Okay. Chalo. We will do so many sums that you will remember. Don't worry. I have just given you a short form, GPLRV, for the retirement benefits, because if you see, they are arranged in sequence. They are arranged in sequential order. The sections are 1010, 1010A, 1010AA, 1010B, 1010C. They are in a chronological order. There is gratuity at 1010, there's pension at 1010A, there is leave salary. Leave encashment means your unused leaves, what you do, what you receive for your unused leaves at the end of the retirement, at the end of the service termination. that is 1010AA. Retrenchment compensation, if you have to leave the undertaking, and voluntary retirement scheme, if you are offered by your employer to quit because of, mainly it happens because of financial conditions of the employer, or because it is going to get merged with some other company and they want to remove their own employees. So when they want to remove you for no fault of yours, then generally they have to have this scheme and they have to pay you something as compensation, right? So voluntary retirement scheme. So 10, 10, 10A, 10, 10 AA, 10, 10 B, and 10, 10 C. A, sorry, 10, no A, 10, 10, then 10, 10 A, 10, 10 AA, 10, 10 B, 10, 10 C. In this order. And what are the words? Gratuity, pension, leave encashment, retrenchment compensation, and VRS. GPLRV. If you remember in this chronology, you will also remember the section references. It may just help you. They are easy to remember. That's why you may remember the sections. All right. Chalo. Let's now solve some things. Pension, we discussed in the last class. I also quickly summarized in this class at the beginning. So now let us do the working of it. How? Uncommuted, I said the uncommuted part, okay, is fully taxable. And what happens to the commuted part is what we are discussing over here. Okay, what happens to the commuted part? That employees of the government, okay, the first box generally denotes government employees. In your question, generally they say government employees, but the law covers a lot of other employees also, like local authorities. Statutory corporation means any corporation formed under an act of the parliament or state legislature, formed under a statute. Okay, so for example, your ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, is a statutory corporation. It is formed under a statute, an act of parliament. Okay, that way. Then members of civil services, defense services, these are also covered. Broadly in your questions, you will get the facts like, well, he's a government employee. Now you tell me what to do. Government employees are given a little privilege in terms of taxation of this, in terms of exemption. Okay. So government employees receiving commuted pension means lump sum pension, fully exempt under, and pension is 1010A section. So sub-clauses, do we have to remember 1010A1, 1010A2? Not so much. Just broadly remember 1010A. Government employees, commuted pension, fully exempt. Uncommuted pension, fully taxable for all kinds of employees. Okay. Then we did other employees. So they are non-government employees. What happens? Then you need to see if along with pension, is that person also receiving gratuity under Payment of Gratuity Act or no? Suppose he is also receiving gratuity. If he is also receiving gratuity, then lawmakers think that isko to mil hi raha hai, तो थोड़ा कम एग्जेम्पशन दे देते हैं. ओके, थोड़ा सा कम एग्जेम्पशन दे देते हैं. जो भी लिमिट निकाल रहे हैं 1/3 फ्रैक्शन अप्लाई कर रहे हैं. बट when the employee does not receive gratuity, then the lawmakers think भाई gratuity भी नहीं मिल रहा, कम से कम exemption थोड़ा ज्यादा दे देते हैं. 1/2 is more than 1/3. They said let us give him 50% exemption. 1/2 over here of whatever base they are calculating. Let us give him 50% in case he does not receive gratuity, and give him exemption. Let us give him 33% exemption in case he receives gratuity. 1/3 is actually 33%. 1/2 is actually 50%. Which is higher? 50%. So let us give 50% exemption, higher exemption if he does not receive gratuity. But if he already receives gratuity, then we will not empathize with him so much. We will give him lesser deduction of 33%. Now this 50 or 33 is calculated on what? It is calculated on this base, which is commuted pension received divided by commutation percentage. So suppose you have offered to commute 60% of your total pension, which means you said that 60% of my total pension, you give it to me, calculate the present value of the annuity of to that extent, give it to me today. Okay. And balance 40%, you give it to me after my retirement annually in annual installments. Okay. Then what will this fraction give you? Commuted pension received means suppose 100 rupees you have got now, and suppose that is 60% of your total pension. So divided by 60%. Okay, divided by 0.6. All right. Okay. And if you do 0.6, then you don't multiply by 100 again. But if you say suppose you write 60, then you multiply by 100 on the top. Okay, and that would be, so 1/3 of that would be exempt, and in the other case 1/2 of that would be exempt. Let us do some sums, you will understand. Okay, chalo, let's start. Please read the sum. Mr. Sagar, who retired on 1st October 2024, did he retire during the previous year involved? The previous year for you is 24-25. 1st April 2024 to 31st March 25 is your previous year. Whatever taxable events will happen in that this year is what is relevant for you. Okay, so this retirement is happening in this year itself. It is happening on 1st October. He is receiving 5,000 per month as pension. And on 1st February 2025, he commuted 60% and received 3 lakh as commuted pension. Okay, now please calculate his pension, assuming A, he's a government employee, B, he's a private sector employee and received gratuity, and C, he's a private sector employee and did not receive gratuity. Amount of gratuity received, is it relevant in the calculation? The numerical example that I showed you just before, and you have a copy of this, you can download from the portal also. You can very much see the formula right now. It will take some time to learn it. Yes. Amount of gratuity is not relevant to calculate amount of exempt pension. What is relevant is whether or not he is receiving gratuity. Okay. This additional 5 lakhs information is not relevant in this sum. Yes. Okay. Sometimes they ask you to calculate all the retirement benefits. Then you need to have to maybe determine the taxable gratuity also, taxable pension also. Then it may have been relevant. But if the question is just calculate taxable pension, they have not said calculate taxable salary, then you don't need to know the amount of gratuity. Okay? Please read the question very carefully. If the same sum with the same name of Mr. Sagar comes in the exam, but they change the word from taxable pension to taxable salary, and you think, oh God, I had done this sum, 1 lakh was the answer, I will exactly do the same thing. It will get wrong because they changed the question. Yes, taxable pension is a different answer. Taxable salary means everything together. Gratuity may also be taxable or not taxable. At least you need to factor in your calculation. Na? So that's why your answer may get completely different if the question changes even by a word. Please read the question very carefully. Try to underline when you are reading the question the important words. Taxable pension. What are you required to calculate? You can just underline. Okay. All right. Chalo, theek hai. Now, firstly, tell me how much is the amount of uncommuted pension? That is the pension which has not been commuted. Because what happens to uncommuted pension? If somebody can quickly write what happens to uncommuted pension. Quickly, come on. What happens to uncommuted pension? Pension is generally received on retirement or termination, final termination only. What happens to uncommuted pension? Fully taxable. A, B, C. All three options fully taxable? Yes? Okay. So let's first calculate that and keep it aside. Uncommuted pension means what they are receiving monthly. From the month of October to the month of March. Okay. Actually, from the month of October to the month of January, because since 1st of February, he has changed his mechanism. So 5,000 for October, November, December, January, 4 months. Okay. And then for February and March, he is actually getting 40% of 5,000 per month. So 40% of 5,000 per month into 2 months is February, March. Okay. So 5,000 into 4 is October to January. And 40% of 5,000 into 2 is February, March. Are we all clear? What is the total amount? What have you got? 24,000. Perfect. 24,000 is the correct amount. That is the taxable value of uncommuted pension in all the 3 cases ABC. So you have already secured part marks. Okay. Now let us talk about the commuted pension. So first let's calculate what is the commuted pension he has received? 3 lakhs. Okay. 3 lakhs is the percentage of, what is the commutation percentage you applied to get 3 lakhs? 60%. Okay. You will not be asked to calculate present value of annuity. This is not FM plus. These things you will be given. Okay. So don't worry on how 3 lakh came, ma'am. That you don't have to worry. You don't have those many details also. They will give you the commuted part, which is based on present value of future annuity. Okay. All right. So commuted pension received 3 lakhs. Chalo, that is one part. Whatever exemption you get can be maximum up to the amount received only. Na? So let's note that first. Okay. Now, if it is a government employee, then we know that fully it is exempt. No formula to apply. So answer A, commuted pension, zero taxable. I will show you the calculations, but are you with me in the concepts first? If I show you the solution now, what will happen? Your entire focus will go on let's copy. But I want you to apply your mind first and try to do a rough solution. Let it go wrong. I will give you the right solution. But till you apply yourself, you will not understand what are the things you should keep in mind. Okay? I'm not showing the solution now. Please be with me. When I'm saying nil commuted pension taxable for government employee, and commuted pension, uncommuted pension, you already calculated 24,000. So the answer of A is how much? Answer of A is how much? 24,000. Okay, correct. Absolutely correct. Let's go to B. B is a private sector employee but received gratuity at the time of retirement. So he falls in the third box that we were showing. Third box that we were showing. If he gets gratuity, then lawmakers don't empathize so much with him. They're saying, अरे तो मिल ही रहा है, इसको इतना ज़्यादा exemption क्यों दे? If he is getting gratuity, उसको थोड़ा कम exemption देते हैं. इसका 1/3 ही देंगे खाली. So 1/3 of the amount, 1/3 of the amount commuted pension received, 3 lakhs divided by 60%, which is the commuted percentage. How much is it? 1/3 of 3 lakhs divided by 60%. Very good. Somebody has calculated. 1,666,667. Correct. That is the right amount. Okay. So that is exempt. 3 lakh minus that is exempt. What is the taxable value? What happens? Some people get confused. Now I'm showing the solution because you are going on the right track. So what happens? We have found out, I'm only talking about commuted pension now. We have found out this much is received. Then we find out the whatever limits are given. So suppose 1/3 into amount received divided by the commutation percentage. Okay, we find out all this. Then we find out, acha, this is 1,666. People conclude here only. Ho gaya, sum khatam. Arey, what were you calculating? You were calculating exemption. So set it off na first. Reduce this from 3 lakhs. Then what comes is the taxable amount. That is the question you were asked. If you were asked to calculate the exempt pension, then this is the answer. But if you are asked to calculate the taxable pension, then this is to be reduced. This is not the answer in itself. What is the final answer? If you are asked to calculate the taxable this thing, pension, correct? Is this the answer? But this is also a part answer because this only represents uncommuted. Then we are going to add, this represents commuted. Then we are going to add the uncommuted. Then what we get is actually the final answer. Has everybody got this answer? Correct. Okay, now you guys solve the question C. Because if you have understood part B, then question C is absolutely cakewalk. Question C means he is a private sector employee, so that means commuted pension is not completely exempt. But he does not receive gratuity, so lawmakers empathize with him. कि भाई gratuity तो नहीं मिल रहा, कम से कम exemption ज़्यादा दे देते हैं. Half दे देंगे इस बार. चलो, कितना मिला? We are talking about commuted part here. कितना मिला हम लोगों को? 3 lakhs. और कितना exempt हुआ? Half of commuted pension received divided by percentage of commutation. is equal to how much? How much? How much? How much? Who will write in the chat box? Very good. 2,50,000. Taxable amount is 50,000. Plus when I add the uncommuted one, 24,000. Total amount is 74,000, which is fully taxable. Correct. Now I am showing you the formal solutions, that how is it going to look? How is it, I mean, when you write in your, this is how essentially you're going to do in your exams also, but just to give you a little beautiful look of how things are. If your solution looks like this, then examiner is so happy that, okay, you have dealt with part A, then you said uncommuted pension, you have calculated and you put it separately. Ma'am, do we have to calculate every time when we do A, B, C? No. Once you've calculated 24,000, you directly use in the other parts, B and C. Okay. Then commuted pension received, you have put in inner column. Then you put what is exempt under section 1010A. Pension is 1010A. And then you show the calculation and you reduce it, and then you derive the final taxable pension after adding the uncommuted bit. So this inner column, outer column play is the presentation. This way it looks very beautiful to the examiner. Okay. All right. In third case, uncommuted is same 24,000, only changes 1/3, formula is 1/2, so it is 50,000. Yeah. Uncommuted does not change. You meant commuted may changes 1/3 and okay. Whoever said that. What if my answer is correct but not in this beautiful format? If your answer is correct, you should get marks. But you know, you have seen that ad, extra marks for good handwriting. You never know. Okay. See, if your answer is presentable, I'm not saying beautiful handwriting, but if your answer has clarity in thought process, if you present your answer like this, it shows that you're clear in your thought process. If you are thinking clearly, it will help you in solving only. It may not be beautiful, just don't write for the eyes of the examiner. I'm saying for your own purpose. If you do systematically, then it will not only look beautiful, it will show clarity in your thought, it will guide you to the next step, and you will not get confused in your own thought process. Okay, this is not for exams. I'm speaking about life in general. Clarity of thinking is very important. So that is what results in beautiful presentation. Chalo, okay, next. We move to the next terminal benefit, which is gratuity. So in our list of GPLRV, okay, you people remember GPLRV? G was first, G was 1010. Then was P, pension, 1010A. Then was leave encashment, 1010AA. Then there was retrenchment, 1010B. Then there was voluntary VRS, 1010C. So in our GPLRV, G is first, which is gratuity. Gratuity is more popular. Gratuity, pension are more popular than other three in exams. Okay. Ma'am, do we remember the limits? Yes. No choice. You need to remember. Okay. And the worst part, these limits apply under both regimes. So, you know, you'll have to apply unless you get a plain vanilla government employee where you don't need to remember anything. You will have to apply these limits. You will have to remember them. Okay. All right. What is gratuity? It's a voluntary payment by employer in appreciation of past services. Is it really voluntary? Nowadays, no. Nowadays, there's Payment of Gratuity Act 1972, so which applies to a lot of organizations. And then the organizations are statutorily bound to give gratuity to their employees. Okay. So there is a statutory need also to pay gratuity. Generally, your employment contract. Hello? Hello? Am I audible? Okay, sorry. I thought I heard something. Okay. All right. Generally, your employment contract will have this clause that, you know, at the end of your termination, at the time of termination of your employment, if suppose you have served so many years of minimum years of service in the organization, you will get this gratuity. So not necessarily linked to retirement. It can be leaving the organization after serving a specific number of years also. Okay, so whether you are eligible for gratuity or not actually may depend on the Payment of Gratuity Act, which you may be studying. All right. So do we need to know that also here, ma'am? No, you need to know for your law exam maybe. But here you will be given the amount that you have to receive. They will not ask you what. Okay, here they will only ask you what should be the taxable amount. Okay, and um, what happens? Can you get from more than one employer? Yes, because it is not necessarily a retirement benefit that you will get only at the age of 60 years. You may work in an organization for 5 years, then you leave the organization, and suppose the law makes you eligible to get gratuity, and your employment contract also has it. You will get gratuity from your first employer. Then you move to the second employer. Second employer, you work for another 10 years. He will also give you gratuity. So, what I'm trying to say is, it is not a once in a lifetime phenomenon. You may get gratuity from different employers in the course of your lifetime. Okay. And then there are some exemption limits given in the law. So, do you apply those limits fresh every time you retire, every time you leave an organization, or do you use the unused limit? The unused limit. Law says I am giving a taxpayer a limit of 20 lakhs, for example. Now, if you choose to leave an organization after every 5 years, is not my problem. Okay, this can be otherwise a tax planning mechanism. Keep rotating, so that at least you get the gratuity exemption. So they're saying we are giving you total exemption of this much, at least in terms of the monetary limit. And if you are using it multiple times, then every time you get to use the unused balance of the last time. Okay, you cannot get more than total 20 lakhs exemption over your lifetime. Okay, all right. Is it available under both regimes? Most of these terminal benefits are available under both regimes. All right. Chalo, I think this is enough of introduction. So how do we tax it, ma'am? Let's see. Gratuity, if you receive during service, sometimes your clause may provide that, after once you have attained so you'll get gratuity every year, or maybe you will receive once during your service continuation also. You don't need to leave per se. So if that is there in your contract, I mean, if your employment contract wants you to receive gratuity, what can tax makers do? So they as lawmakers do. So they are saying, fine, you receive it, but we have no special exemption for you. Okay. So if you are receiving during the course of your service, we have no special exemption for you. It is taxable. Our intent of giving benefit was for the retirement people. Okay, for the people who will not have a continued source of income. So you want to get, your employer wants to give, fine, but you're not getting any exemption. You're getting exemption if you get it at the time of retirement or death kind of a situation. Okay. Achha, theek hai. So what if it is received under a pension code or defense service or government employees or civil service local authority? Again, broadly calling it government employee. If you want to know the actual list in the law, this is the list. Okay. But if I have to broadly give a summary, you can also write in your notes that if I have to broadly give one name to this dabba, then what would I give? Government employee. In your exams, mostly you get to see government employee. This box. So how you may remember is government employee, other employees. You don't need to remember this whole list, because in your exam, mostly they classify this kind of box as government employee. Okay. All right. Central government, state government, doesn't, local authority, don't bother. Government employee. Okay. All right. So government employee, is my voice audible? Okay. So all right. Okay, thank you. So government employees getting this at the time of retirement fully exempt. It was similar, the structure or the framework is similar to pension. That some part of it will be fully taxable in the hands of everybody, and some part of it will be fully exempt in the hands of government employee. And for other employees, it depends, covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act or not, and accordingly, the tax exemption limit will be given. The framework or the structure of exemption in this particular section 1010 is very similar to 1010A, but the numbers are different. Okay. So government employee receiving gratuity at the time of retirement or death, fully exempt under both regimes. All right. Other employee, then you'll have to see whether he is getting something he's covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act or he is not. Ma'am, do we need to study Payment of Gratuity Act or not and then determine the exemption? No. You will, I mean, you need to study for your other subjects, but here you will be given that he is covered under Payment of Gratuity Act or not. You don't have to determine that. Okay. All right. Now, what happens if he is covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act? Then the amount of exemption is 20 lakhs. 20 lakhs is the maximum monetary limit that they have given. That total gratuity, whether received from, one or more employers in the same or more previous years. Total exemption to gratuity can be maximum 20 lakhs. Okay. So 20 lakhs is the limit. Suppose in the next case, when you go to the second employer and he also wants to pay you gratuity, then out of this 20 lakhs, if you have any unused limit that you could not use as exemption in this case, then only that amount you will write over there and not 20 lakhs. Okay. All right. So what is exempt? Least of the following is exempt. One is 20. Is actual gratuity received. Fair enough. How can the exemption be more than what you have received? Enough. So actual gratuity received or 20 lakhs, fine. These two limits are common in both the boxes. Whether employee is covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act or not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act. Okay. Then what changes? What changes is if he is covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, then we do 15 by 26. Why? Because in Payment of Gratuity Act, 26 days are considered to be working number of days in a month. So when they wanted to give you half month salary exemption. But in terms of Payment of Gratuity Act, that half month should not be 15 by 30. It should be 15 by 26. 26 are considered to be number of working days in a month in Payment of Gratuity Act. Monday to Saturday, understand. They have just removed 4 salaries. Okay. But under the Payment of Gratuity Act, then the exemption will also be similar to the Payment of Gratuity Act, which is 15 by 26 multiplied by last drawn salary means last month's salary into number of completed years of service. 15 months salary, half month salary, which is calculated as 15 by 26 in this case, into last month's salary. So half of last month's salary basically multiplied by number of years of service. So in other words, the exemption is merely half month's salary for every completed year of service. Nearly half month's salary for every completed year of service is the exemption they wanted to give you. Now, under the Payment of Gratuity Act, half month is 15 by 26. Under the other Gratuity Act, then the half month is 15 by 30. And that you multiply by the last monthly salary. So you get actually half month's salary, multiply by the number of completed years of service. Now, how to calculate the number of completed years of service is also different in the two boxes, because one is inspired by the Payment of Gratuity Act and one is not. In the Payment of Gratuity Act, when you have to calculate number of years of service, okay, they say that if the number of years of service, if suppose there are some months, some full years, full years, 12 years, 6 months. Suppose that person has worked for 12 years, 7 months. Okay. Now, what do you do with the fraction of the year? There they have advised that if the fraction is more than 6 months, then consider it to be a full year. 12 years, 7 months is almost 13 years. Don't consider it. Fraction is less than 6 months, then you ignore it. Okay. And what have they said under the non-Payment of Gratuity Act, which means if we are not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, then they have said only completed years of service, whatever be the fraction, even if it is 11 months out of 12, but you couldn't complete a year, now you ignore the fraction. You don't round up. Okay. So that is the basic principle. So what are the two differences between covered in payment and non-covered in Payment of Gratuity Act? In covered in payment, you need to do 15 by 26 as half month because 26 working days are mentioned in Payment of Gratuity Act. And what if there is fraction of a year? Then if the fraction is more than 6 months, please round it off upward and make it one complete year. Otherwise, ignore. And if you're not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, then if there is a fraction of a year, even if it is 11 months, you ignore it. You only count the full completed years, 12 years in that. All right. Now, what is salary? Because they said you take the last month's salary. Okay. Now, I told you in the last class, salary means different things for different purposes within the salary head itself. Okay. So, for payment of gratuity, when we were calculating exempt pension, they didn't ask you for salary. So, they didn't have to define the salary. But here they have said by half month salary. So, you need to know what is salary. Salary for this purpose. If again you are covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, then salary means basic plus DA. If not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, then salary means basic plus DA forming part. You remember we learned the phrase DA forming part, which means such dearness allowance as forms a part of calculation of retirement benefits as per the terms of employment. In other words, it is the terms of employment so provide. That can also be a way of writing it in the question. Okay, so DA forming part we've already understood, right? So DA forming part, tech team, you may not admit the last admission. The last person who just ran. Okay. DA forming part is what we have already understood in the last class. So for the purpose of the other box, which is not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, basic plus DA forming part plus turnover based commission. That is where the terms of employment provide that commissions would be a fixed percentage of turnover. Okay. So commission to be a fixed percentage of turnover. These three components, part and commission as fixed percentage of turnover, they are na bhai bain. They almost stay together. Very commonly, they are clubbed together to define salary in different meanings of the act. So they are very popular siblings, you can say, almost always together. Okay. So the definition of salary for Payment of Gratuity Act is basic plus DA. But the definition of salary, because maybe that is the definition in the Payment of Gratuity Act also. You understand something. If somebody is covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, means employer has to apply the rules mentioned in that law to calculate gratuity in the first place and give it to him. Then you determine taxability. Okay. So they wanted the exemption to be commensurate with the calculation mechanism. They wanted it to be in line. So they took the rules from the Payment of Gratuity Act. They said, Achha, half month means 15 by 26. Achha, salary means basic plus DA. Achha, number we round up, otherwise we ignore. We wanted it to be the exemption to be in sync with the calculation. That means most likely if the amount is also calculated like this, it may so happen that the amount of exemption and amount received be the same. It may so happen that entire amount be exempt in your hands because it is just calculated the way it should have been exempt, right? Rather, it is just exempted in the way it has been calculated because they have taken inference from Payment of Gratuity Act. Okay, that is the idea they wanted it to do. All right, that let us give an exemption in a way that the entire amount is exempt. So that it is mostly in line with the amount in the way in which it is calculated under Payment of Gratuity Act. But if the person is not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, then income tax says my rules will apply. My life, my rules. So what is my rules? My rules is salary means basic plus DA, turnover based commission. My rules means half month is 15 by 30. My rules means if I have fraction of a year, I'll just ignore the fraction. Okay, they want to reduce the exemption as much as possible. So they said fraction we'll remove. So we will get lesser number of years when we calculate the exemption limit. Right? So I hope you understood the logic why there are different boxes. Because if you just try to mug it up, it is highly likely you will club it up in your exams. If you try to understand why they made this, then you will be able to remember it better. Okay? Chalo. Ma'am, can you see my questions? Dhanush. Voice is breaking. Now is it okay? What's 20 lakhs? 20 lakhs is a defined exemption limit. Why is it 20? Why is it not 10? Why is it not 30? You don't know. Lawmakers have given that limit. Can you explain forming part? DA forming part. The terms of employment so provide that dearness allowance will be factored in calculation of retirement benefits. If that is so, then DA is said to be forming part. For your sums, they may just say DA forming part. You have to understand the balance, this logic. Okay. All right. What was POGA? Okay. Payment of Gratuity Act 1972 is POGA. Okay. Payment of Gratuity Act 1972 is POGA. Okay. Hindi में बोलिए. Okay, so my South students, just bear a little in Hindi. I have almost explained everything in English already. It's Hindi is only for those who didn't get it in the first attempt. So, ग्रेजुएटी अगर आपको सर्विस के बीच में मिलती है, वो कोई भी एम्प्लॉय हो पूरा टैक्सेबल. अगर रिटायरमेंट या डेथ पे मिलती है तो है ही नहीं. मे बी उनके लीगल एड्स को मिल रही है, तो एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय रिलेशनशिप कहाँ से हो गया? सैलरी भी होगा कि नहीं? तो देखो, मिल रहा है डेथ पे, लेकिन not as an income of the legal heir, but as a in legacy of the deceased. ठीक है, तो उसका कलर और उसका नेचर वही होगा जो उनको अगर मिलता तो क्या होता उनके हाथ में. सो यहाँ पे एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय रिलेशनशिप एक्नॉलेज करेंगे और डेथ पे लीगल एयर को भी मिले तो उसको इसी में गवर्न करेंगे. ठीक है, अच्छा. ऑलराइट, सो अगर रिटायरमेंट या डेथ पे मिल रहा है, गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय फुल्ली एग्जेम्प्ट. नॉर्मल एम्प्लॉयज यू सी वेदर इट इज covered under Payment of Gratuity Act or not. If covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, then you first write the amount of gratuity received and then less exemption. Exemption will be lower of the following. Number one limit, 20 lakhs. If you have already used a part of it in earlier attempt with your earlier employer, then use the unused part only now. If हमको कैसे पता चलेगा मैम? सम में अगर दिया है तो मतलब दिया है, नहीं दिया है तो आप मान लो this is the first time they are using and you use the whole amount. Okay. Second, amount of gratuity actually received is also one of the amounts of exemption. Third, in case of Payment of Gratuity Act, you will calculate 15 by 26 into last month's salary into number of completed years of service, where if the number of months, fractional months is more than 6, then you round it up upward to calculate the total number of years. Salary for this purpose means basic plus DA. If the person is not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, then the calculation will be gratuity received, put the amount, then less exemption, lower of the following. First limit, 20 lakhs. Second limit, amount of gratuity received. Third limit, 1 by 2 of last month's salary into number of completed years of service, where any fraction is to be ignored. Salary means basic plus DA forming part plus commission as fixed percentage of turnover. Am I clear? जिन्होंने लास्ट 5 मिनट नहीं भी सुना उनके लिए पूरा एक समरी था. पोगा पेमेंट ऑफ ग्रेचुइटी एक्ट है, ये एक्सप्लेन करने का टॉपिक नहीं है, ये आपको बस जानना है. पोगा अगर आपको समझना है तो लॉ क्लास में समझ पाओगे. If income tax follows POGA rules were applicable to provide actual exemption of what they actually receive and not more than that, am I correct? Yes, somewhere it is inspired by that. कि पोगा में जो कवर्ड है उनको तो ग्रेचुइटी मिलेगी ही पोगा के हिसाब से, तो लेट अस डिफाइन द एग्जेम्पशन रूल्स आल्सो अकॉर्डिंगली. पर जो पोगा में नहीं कवर्ड है उनको तो वैसे भी ग्रेचुइटी रूल्स को देखने का मतलब नहीं है. लेट्स डिफाइन आवर न्यू रूल्स फॉर दैट. माय लाइफ माय रूल्स. सो यहाँ पे इनकम टैक्स ने अपने रूल्स बनाए. ठीक है, क्या जरूरी था उनको पेमेंट ऑफ ग्रेचुइटी एक्ट से अलाइन करना? जरूरी नहीं था. उन्होंने सोचा कि भाई जैसे कैलकुलेट हो रहा है वैसे ही एग्जेम्पशन मिल जाएगा तो थोड़ा लाइफ इजी रहेगी. जरूरी नहीं था. इनकम टैक्स दे हैव द डिस्क्रिप्शन टू मेक लॉ द वे दे वांट. ठीक है, चलो. ओके. Okay, very good. So you have understood gratuity also, you have understood pension also. These are the two most important terminal benefits. बाकी इतने frequent नहीं है एग्जाम में, ये ज्यादा है. हाँ, ये बहुत अच्छा है if you have understood. Okay. चलो, ये क्वेश्चन पढ़ें आप, जल्दी से पढ़ें. आप लोग को स्क्रीन की साइज गुड इनफ है? छोटी लग रही है? ठीक है ना? चलो, मैंने जूम भी कर दिया. ओके. All right. रवि रिटायर्ड ऑन 15th जून, तो चलो अपने ही प्रीवियस ईयर में रिटायर हुए हैं ये, 15 जून को रिटायर हुए हैं, ठीक है। कंप्लीशन ऑफ 26 years 8 months, अच्छा मतलब फ्रैक्शन है यहाँ पे, पूरा 27 साल नहीं है। अरे डीए इन ऑल केसेस मींस डियरनेस अलाउंस, इन पोगा डीए मींस only dearness allowance, 100% dearness allowance, and in non-poga DA means DA forming part. So if the question says 60% of the total dearness allowance forms part of the terms of employment, then you calculate 60% of total DA. Okay. अच्छा, तो दिया है कितना कितना टाइम काम किया इन्होंने, 26 साल 8 महीने काम किए हैं, मतलब पूरे 27 साल तो नहीं किए हैं, थोड़ा सा फ्रैक्शन इन्वॉल्व है, भी देखना पड़ेगा क्या करना है। 8 महीने देख के तो लग रहा है यार अच्छा खासा ऑलमोस्ट पूरा साल कर ही लिया। अब पता नहीं इसको अपवर्ड राउंड ऑफ करेंगे या टोटली इग्नोर करेंगे, लेट्स सी। Received gratuity of 15 lakhs, very good. At the time of retirement his salary was basic salary, last drawn salary हमको चाहिए ना, last month की salary चाहिए at the time of retirement, तो बेसिक इतना है, डीए इतना है। देखो यहाँ पे बता दिया 60% इज फॉर रिटायरमेंट बेनिफिट्स, मतलब 60% ऑफ 10,000 पर मंथ इज एक्चुअली फॉर्मिंग पार्ट। ओके, इन योर माइंड यू विल कैलकुलेट डीए फॉर्मिंग पार्ट इज इक्वल टू, माइंड में नहीं बुक्स नोट्स में कॉपी करना, लिखना आप 60% ऑफ 10,000 पर मंथ इज फॉर्मिंग पार्ट। अब मंथ्स में आप कितना कैलकुलेट करेंगे वो लेट्स सी। कमीशन 1% ऑफ टर्नओवर इज 1 crore 20 lakhs। तो एक वन ऑफ द केसेस में हम लोग को कमीशन एज फिक्स परसेंटेज ऑफ टर्नओवर रेलेवेंट भी है ना सैलरी के डेफिनेशन में, तो उन्होंने वो भी दे दिया, तो वो हम लोग को ले लेना है। कहीं कहीं पे ना वो कमीशन को नहीं लेते हैं सैलरी के डेफिनेशन में, तो जस्ट वो इन्फॉर्मेशन है तो कुछ तो करना है, ये सोच के ले मत लेना। हाँ, जहां पे वी नीड टू टेक इट जस्ट टेक इट देयर, where law has not allowed you to take it, forget it, there can be irrelevant information also in the question. Okay, अच्छा, एंड बोनस दे हैव गिवन यू, क्या बोनस रेलेवेंट है इस पूरे क्वेश्चन में? अगर आपको टैक्सेबल ग्रेचुइटी निकालनी है, अगर आपको टैक्सेबल इनकम नहीं निकालना है, क्या बोनस रेलेवेंट है? क्या बोनस रेलेवेंट है? नो 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 नो, ओके गुड गुड, ठीक है, बोनस रेलेवेंट नहीं है, इट्स एक्स्ट्रा पीस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, यू डोंट डू एनीथिंग विद इट। ओके, कल कैलकुलेट टैक्सेबल ग्रेचुइटी, चलो लेट्स डू पार्ट सी फर्स्ट, वो बहुत इजी लगता है मुझे कि वो गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय है। गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय है तो क्या करना है हम लोगों को? एग्जेम्प्ट, सब कुछ एग्जेम्प्ट। क्या इनको ड्यूरिंग सर्विस ग्रेचुइटी मिल रही है या रिटायरमेंट के टाइम? पहले आप ये तो देखेंगे, डायरेक्टली गवर्नमेंट देखते ही एग्जेम्प्ट, पहले तो आप देखेंगे ना रिटायरमेंट के टाइम मिल रही है कि ड्यूरिंग द सर्विस मिल रही है। रिटायरमेंट के टाइम मिल रही है, गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय को मिल रही है, तो फिर एग्जेम्प्ट है, ठीक है। हाँ, तो फिर एग्जेम्प्ट है। ओके, और तब ठीक है, गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय को तो पहले ही नक्की करो, पहले ही यू जस्ट सॉर्ट हिम आउट कि वो तो जो भी मिल रहा है एग्जेम्प्ट है। ओके, ऑलराइट, नथिंग मेंशन्ड दैट अज्यूम एट रिटायरमेंट, how is it not mentioned in the sum? It is mentioned Mr. Ravi retired on 15th June. This kind of relevant information will be given in the sum. Okay, इतना भी assume करना नहीं पड़ेगा। Okay, all right, private sector employee covered by POGA, चलो ठीक है, private sector employee covered by POGA। Let's first write amount of gratuity received. Okay, let's first put down the numbers so that we first calculate the last month salary। हाँ, वो अलग अलग चीज के लिए अलग अलग चाहिएगा हम लोगों को। अमाउंट ऑफ ग्रेचुइटी रिसीव्ड है हमारा 15 lakhs, वो तो एक बार ऊपर लिख दो क्योंकि उसके नीचे ही एग्जेम्पशन देना है आपको। जो एग्जेम्पशन देना है उसमें फर्स्ट लिमिट इज 20 lakhs, we are calculating A right now, first limit is 20 lakhs, second limit is amount received which is 15 lakhs, third limit payment under gratuity act is, what is it? Third limit under POGA is 15 by 26 into last month's salary into number of completed years of service, where fraction is to be ignored की क्या? If number of months is more than 6, तो फ्रैक्शन लेना है या नहीं लेना है? यहाँ पे नंबर ऑफ मंथ्स 8 है, फ्रैक्शन आपको लेना है या नहीं लेना है? मतलब 8 को +1 लेना है या कुछ नहीं लेना है, छोड़ देना है? लेना है. नंबर ऑफ इयर्स विल बी 27. यू विल राउंड ऑफ 8 मंथ्स टू 1 एंड इट विल बिकम 27. ठीक है. अब बता दो लास्ट मंथ की सैलरी कितनी है. पोगा में क्या क्या लेते हैं हम? पोगा में लेते हैं बेसिक और डीए. डीए भी कंप्लीटली लेते हैं, फॉर्मिंग पार्ट की कोई बात नहीं है पोगा में. हाउ मच डू वी टेक एज बेसिक? 50,000 per month. And how much do we take as DA? 10,000 per month. So 60,000 per month. हम लोग को तो मंथली सैलरी चाहिए, हमको तो वही बोला था लेने के लिए. हमने क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे? आर वी क्लियर अबाउट दिस? We are calculating A. We are calculating one of the limits of exemption of gratuity under A. We are okay with this? Somebody has calculated also. Ma'am, this is coming to 346934615. तो बता दो फिर टैक्सेबल सैलरी ग्रेजुटी कितनी है. इसको तो आपको 15 से कम करना है ना, जो मिला था. यहीं पे सम मत खत्म कर देना, ये एग्जेम्पशन अमाउंट है. टैक्सेबल अमाउंट तो टोटल माइनस एग्जेम्पशन होता है. हाँ. सो कितना हुआ? कितना होता है? 565,385. I hope you all found that out. Ma'am, I have not been able to understand how you got 60,000. Acha. So actually basic 50,000, DA 10,000, total 60,000. And we are under POGA. POGA में DA फॉर्मिंग पार्ट रेलेवेंट ही नहीं है, टोटल DA रेलेवेंट है. हमको मंथली सैलरी निकालनी है, इसलिए हमने कोई नंबर ऑफ मंथ से मल्टीप्लाई नहीं किया. मंथली सैलरी हमने डायरेक्टली उठा लिया. 50 10 मिलके हो गया 60. ठीक है. ओके. ऑलराइट. ठीक है. let's move to the next part B. Part B में first two limits are same. 20 lakhs is same. Amount of received, which is 15 lakhs, is same. Third limit is different. Instead of 15 by 26, it's going to be 15 by 30 into last month's salary. Last month salary की definition यहाँ पे होगी basic plus DA forming part plus commission as fixed percentage of turnover. So this you need to first calculate in the notes and then put it over here. But it should be a monthly salary amount only. And you have to multiply by the number of completed years of service, where I have told you please ignore fraction. So it will be, number of years will be how much? If I tell you ignore fraction, number of years is how much? 26. ठीक है. बता दो मंथली सैलरी कितना है, जल्दी बताओ. 50,000. अच्छा, इसमें ना एक्चुअली आपको मंथली सैलरी निकालने के लिए ना एक चीज और करना होता है. वो है एवरेज सैलरी निकालने के लिए. मतलब not only you need to consider these things, but you also need to consider for a period of time and determine the average monthly salary, and then you have to use it. Okay. This I thought I will tell you during some solving so that you understand it better. Otherwise, you would have got confused in the last slide only. Okay. तो ये कैसे निकालना है, ये इतना डायरेक्ट नहीं है. इसका एक कैलकुलेशन आपको नोट्स में अलग ही करना होगा. लेट्स डू द कैलकुलेशन. एवरेज सैलरी आपको निकालनी है. कैसे? So you have to take the average salary of last 10 months. You need to take the average salary of last 10 months. So matlab you need to first calculate total salary for last 10 months, then divide by 10 and you get the average monthly salary. ठीक है. Last 10 months लेना हमें. अच्छा, अब last 10 months अगर आप लेंगे before retirement, for each complete last 10 months अगर आप लेंगे तो 50,000 तो into 10 कर लेंगे. which is basic. Plus you need to take DA forming part. So you need to take 10,000 into 60% into 10, which is 10 months DA forming part. Plus you need to take commission. Commission should be 1%. It is given in the sum. Commission का कोई prescribed नहीं है. जो sum में दिया है वही लेना है. 1% of turnover. Turnover कितना उन्होंने दिया है? 12 months का turnover अगर 1.2 crores है, तो 10 months का turnover कितना होगा? Into 10 by 12 होगा. 1.2 मैंने किया है, आपको पूरा लिखना है, नहीं तो कंफ्यूज हो जाएंगे. प्लीज राइट द फुल फिगर. 1 crore 20 lakhs. Huh? So how much is the commission? 1% of 1 crore 20 lakhs into 10 by 12, because you are trying to calculate last 10 months commission. You are trying to calculate overall last 10 months salary and then divide it by 10 to know the average salary. पोगा में आप रहते तो आप जस्ट लास्ट मंथ सैलरी ले लेते, ओके, और बेसिक और डीए ही लेते. सबसे सिंपल है पोगा. नॉन पोगा में आप लास्ट 10 मंथ्स की बेसिक डीए फॉर्मिंग पार्ट और कमीशन बेस्ड ऑन फिक्स परसेंटेज ऑफ टर्नओवर लेंगे, उसको डिवाइड बाय 10 करके एवरेज निकालेंगे, फिर इनटू 15 by 30 करके हाफ मंथ सैलरी निकालेंगे, फिर इनटू नंबर ऑफ कंप्लीटेड इयर्स ऑफ सर्विस करके उतने सालों उतना अमाउंट टोटल निकालेंगे. In case of B मने this one not covered. हाँ, what did you say? In case of B, why last 10 months? It's given in the law, Priya, कि आपको you need to take average of last 10 months salary. That's why. So we calculate last 10 months salary and then divide by 10 to calculate the average. मतलब 10 months is given in the law. You will see in the last slide. I'll just show you once. Somebody has calculated 8,58,000 as the exemption. So what is the taxable amount? If you reduce this from 15 lakhs ka amount received, what do you get? What do you get? 6,42,000. हाँ, अगर आप 858 को 15 लाख से कम कर दे तो 6,42,000 आपको आ रहा है. Is it okay? 6,42,000 is the taxable gratuity in case of point number B. Can I show you the working for those who have missed out on any step? Point number C, fully exempt because received at the time of retirement. वो आप लिख देना, received at the time of retirement. If possible, try to give a little bit of reason where you feel that there is an outright exemption. Because you're not doing any calculation, at least try to give the basis of exemption. So you can say exempt under section 1010 because received by government employee at the time of retirement. Okay, simple. इतना ही लिखना बहुत है, पूरा का पूरा लॉ भी नहीं लिखना है. All right. अगर ये पॉइंट नंबर ए हो तो पहले आप लिखेंगे ग्रेचुइटी रिसीव, नीचे अंदर इनर कॉलम्स में आप निकालेंगे एग्जेम्प्ट अंडर सेक्शन 10, लीस्ट ऑफ द फॉलोइंग ग्रेचुइटी रिसीव स्टैट्यूटरी लिमिट, फिर 15 by 26 आप करेंगे इनटू 27 और आपकी टैक्सेबल ग्रेचुइटी निकलेगी. दिस इज द सॉल्यूशन. इज एवरीबॉडी अग्रीएबल टू दिस? ओके विद दिस? योर आंसर मैचेस विद दिस? प्लीज टेल मी. Okay, all right. If you're okay, then please look at the next solution, which is point number B. Point number B में gratuity received at the time of retirement हमने कर लिया, फिर हमने exemption नीचे निकाला क्योंकि इस पे बहुत सारा वर्किंग है. तो नीचे हमने जब निकाला हमने लिखा gratuity received statutory limit. उसके बाद हमने half month salary based on average salary of last 10 months. तो हमने उस तरह से पहले तो 10 months की सैलरी निकाली, फिर नंबर डिवाइड बाय 10 करके एवरेज सैलरी, फिर हाफ किया या आप 15/30 भी लिख सकते हो, into number of completed years of service किया, उससे whatever amount you've got, now you take the least of the following, which means 8,58,000, वो ऊपर जाएगा, लेस करेंगे, taxable gratuity आ जाएगी. All right, I hope it is clear. इसमें आपको बहुत सारे सम्स नहीं करने हैं, बिकॉज कॉन्सेप्ट यही है, आपको अलग अलग फैक्ट्स दिए जाएंगे बट मोर और लेस इसी फ्रेमवर्क में. सो बट अगर आप करके नहीं जाएंगे तो करना मुश्किल है. सो प्लीज सॉल्व दिस सम बिफोर एग्जाम. Need not solve 10 sums of gratuity, solve only one, but at least solve by hand. Seeing 10 sums, 10 solutions of gratuity and solving one solution of gratuity, if you ask me, I will say please solve one sum, don't see 10 sums. Okay, it will give you a basic framework of how it is calculated, and then you will apply it during your exam. But it will, if you write, it will help you to answer those questions which will come to your mind only when you start solving. Right now I am prompting, you are accordingly reacting. In the exam you need to prompt yourself. That will come only when you write on your own. It will trigger your self prompt. Okay, chalo. Are we all clear? Can we move to the next topic, terminal benefit leave encashment? Okay, chalo. Do you need a break of 5 minutes or should we proceed? 5-minute break. Chalo, theek hai. It is roughly 7:30ish. So let's resume by 7:35. People who join soon, please read this. Yeah, अच्छा एक काम करते हैं. Let me explain this topic. Then I will show you the question sum. People who join back, look at the sum when you have joined. Okay, let me quickly explain this. So, terminal benefit leave encashment में क्या होता है? कि this, what is the concept I told you in the first class, that if generally in your wherever you work, you get some approved leaves, that so many days of leave you can take in a year, and it may so happen that you could not take all the leaves. Some companies have a policy that okay, whatever you could not take, you carry them forward, and in future we are going to pay you cash in lieu of the leaves that you could not take. Some companies have a policy that what leave you could not take lapses then and there, you don't get any cash. If you don't get any cash, then there is no question of even reading this topic, because if you don't receive leave encashment, how will you even tax it? Okay, but if your company policy allows you to get cash in lieu of your unused leaves, then there will be a question of how to tax it, because often this becomes a very lump sum payment when you leave the organization. All right, तो ये नॉर्मल रिटायरमेंट के पहले भी आपको मिल सकता है, नो प्रॉब्लम. यू लीव एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, आपके पास 100 दिन लीव पड़े हैं, आप उसको इनकैश, अगर आपकी पॉलिसी अलाउ करती है, आप इनकैश कर रहे हैं, then you at that moment only you need to determine the taxability. Okay, अच्छा, अगर आपको रिसीट मिलता है, it will form part of salary. तो पहले तो it is very much salary. Okay, let that be clear first. Second, कभी कभी exemption मिलता है. कितना मिलता है? 10-10 AA. We were doing GPLRV, gratuity 10-10, pension 10-10A, leave encashment 10-10 AA, retrenchment 10-10B, VRS 10-10C, GPLRB. Okay, तो यहाँ हम L में हैं, 10-10 AA. Okay, ये आपको मिलता है at the time of retirement, whether on superannuation or otherwise. मतलब retirement या resignation, whatever it is, you can get it, and the exemption also you can get it. If you receive from more than one employer in the same or different previous years, but aggregate exemption cannot be more than 25 lakhs. So the limit, which was 20 lakhs in the gratuity case that we did in the last slide, is 25 lakhs for leave encashment. Okay, so what happens from the next employer when you get leave encashment again, and you have suppose used a part of 25 lakhs earlier, you reduce that and you use the unused limit only in the next time. Okay. Exemption available under both regimes. Okay, terminal benefits, both regimes. Salary for this purpose means, I told you the most favorite definition is basic plus DA forming part plus commission as fixed percentage of turnover. In fact, I told you, POGA के case में, in case of gratuity, under covered by POGA category, they did an exception, basic plus salary, basic plus DA, क्योंकि they were aligning themselves with POGA. नॉर्मली तो उनका फेवरेट डेफिनेशन, जो अगर उनको खुद को करना हो, जैसे नॉन पोगा केस, अगर उनको खुद से बनाना हो, नॉर्मली उनका फेवरेट डेफिनेशन होता है बेसिक प्लस डीए फॉर्मिंग पार्ट प्लस कमीशन एज फिक्स परसेंटेज ऑफ टर्नओवर. ओके, सो इन पोगा केस they did what is there in POGA, basic plus DA, but in non-POGA case they did basic plus DA forming part plus commission as fixed percentage of turnover. ठीक है, Similarly, in leave encashment, they had no law to abide by. Leave encashment कोई statutory payment नहीं है. आपकी कंपनी की पॉलिसी अलाउ करती है तो ठीक है, नहीं तो नहीं. ओके, तो कोई लॉ ही नहीं है देखने को. तो इनकम टैक्स लॉ मेकर्स ने बोला हमको जो मन वो करें. तो माई लाइफ माई रूल्स जब हम अप्लाई करते हैं, हमारा डेफिनेशन है बेसिक प्लस डीए फॉर्मिंग पार्ट प्लस कमीशन एज फिक्स परसेंटेज ऑफ टर्नओवर. क्लियर? एवरेज सैलरी क्या है? बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है. एवरेज सैलरी इज सैलरी ड्रॉन ड्यूरिंग द लास्ट 10 months. मतलब ये तो भाई एकदम एक जैसा हो गया. दिस इज वेरी वेरी सिमिलर टू ग्रेचुइटी. Why we kept the sequence of pension, gratuity, leave encashment is because you will get a lot of commonality from gratuity not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act and leave encashment. You will be able to relate it better. Okay, and I'm sure this time when you do this sum, it will be correct in the first instance because you have already done gratuity and you have already got a hang of it. Okay, so with this thought, I will leave you to this chart. Please look at it. Please look at it carefully, and then we will come and do this sum. You will be able to understand because you have already understood gratuity. ठीक है? चलो, let's take a 5-minute break. We are coming back at 7:35, 36ish. Okay, चलो. And those who are still here, I hope you have completely absorbed this chart in front of you. That if leave encashment is received during the period of service, it is fully taxable. If it is received on retirement or whether on superannuation or otherwise by government employee, then fully exempt. If by any other employee, then least of the following is exempt. One of the limits is 25 lakhs, which used to be 20 lakhs in case of gratuity. Other limit is leave salary actually received, which used to be gratuity actually received. Third limit is 10 months salary on the basis of average salary of last 10 months. ये तो हमको वैसे ही पता है. 10 वहां हम बस एवरेज सैलरी लेते थे बेस्ड ऑन लास्ट 10 मंथ्स, बट यहाँ 10 मंथ सैलरी लेनी है आपको. और नेक्स्ट, कैश इक्विवेलेंट ऑफ अनअवेल्ड लीव, because somewhere you need to give recognition to the leave balance in your hand. Okay, so you need to first derive the unavailed leave or the leave entitlement बोलते हैं इसको. Leave entitlement. Leave entitlement is actually leave allowed minus leave taken is equal to leave remaining, which is actually the leave which you have not availed. Unavailed leave is your leave entitlement. Total leave allowed 100 days. You took only 40 days. 60 days remain with you. That is leave entitlement. So earned leave entitlement cannot exceed 30 days for every year of actual service rendered. तो आपको तो पहले leave entitlement निकालना होगा, फिर उसके ऊपर एक कैपिंग है. It cannot be more than 30 days for every actual year of service. उसके बाद उसका कैश इक्विवेलेंट निकालना है बेस्ड ऑन एवरेज सैलरी ऑफ लास्ट 10 मंथ्स. ठीक है, चलो इसमें थोड़ा सा दो लिमिट्स अलग हैं, बट स्ट्रक्चरली ड्यूरिंग सर्विस मिले तो फुल्ली टैक्सेबल, रिटायरमेंट पे मिले तो गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय के लिए फुल्ली एग्जेम्प्ट, और अदरवाइज मिले तो 20 के जगह 25 लाख का लिमिट. एक्चुअल अमाउंट रिसीव्ड इज द सेम थिंग लिमिट, एंड द अदर लिमिट इज डिफरेंट. For one, you need to calculate 10 months of salary based on average salary of last 10 months. Salary for this purpose is same as earlier, which is basic plus DA forming part plus commission as fixed percentage of turnover. And one new element is based on leave entitlement. ये आपको सब में leave entitlement देख के याद आ जाएगा, अरे इसका भी कुछ करना है. ठीक है, so don't worry. But क्या करना है, you definitely need to remember कि cash equivalent of unavailed leave based on last 10 months of average salary. So you first determine the leave entitlement to you, and then you think कि by maximum 30 for every completed year of service you can get, and then you multiply it by average salary of last 10 months to calculate this limit. When we do a sum, you will understand. Okay, चलो let's read this question. इन सब questions को पढ़ने में ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लगता है, because structurally एक बहुत ही conventional format में है, इसमें ज्यादा innovation होता ही नहीं है. Okay, let's see. मिस्टर गुप्ता रिटायर्ड ऑन 1 दिसंबर. चलो ठीक है, कितने महीने बचे हैं भी? दिसंबर, जनवरी, फरवरी, मार्च, 4 महीने बचे हैं. ओके, आफ्टर 20 इयर्स ऑफ सर्विस, राउंड नंबर 20 इयर्स, कोई नंबर ऑफ मंथ्स दिया ही नहीं है, बट क्या नंबर ऑफ मंथ्स देते तो क्या मैटर करता? फ्रैक्शनल ईयर होता तो क्या होता? कुछ मैटर करता क्या? फ्रैक्शनल ईयर होता तो क्या होता? कहीं तो कुछ लिखा नहीं है. फ्रैक्शनल ईयर कुछ होता भी तो देखना नहीं है हमको, तो एक्चुअल ईयर ऑफ कंप्लीटेड ईयर ही लेना है यहाँ पे. सो इसलिए इन दिस सम लकीली यू डोंट इवन हैव अ फ्रैक्शन, यू हैव कंप्लीट राउंड नंबर ऑफ 20 इयर्स. चलो ठीक है, रिसीव लीव सैलरी ऑफ 5 lakhs. अदर डिटेल्स बेसिक इतना है. अच्छा, बीच में साल में इंक्रीज भी हुआ. इज दिस इंफॉर्मेशन रेलेवेंट टू यू कि जो आज की बेसिक सैलरी है वो कुछ महीने पहले अलग थी? इज दिस इंफॉर्मेशन रेलेवेंट टू यू? Is this information relevant to you? Yes, because you need to calculate last 10 months salary. हाँ, तो last 10 months में अगर सैलरी में कुछ चेंज हुआ है तो आपको वो भी पता होना चाहिए, राइट? तो इसलिए this is very much relevant to you. Not relevant. Why, Janvi? Why not relevant? Last 10 months सैलरी अगर आप निकालोगे और लास्ट 10 months में सैलरी चेंज हुई है तो आपको तो पता होना चाहिए ना. मतलब सिंपल मैथ्स में भी पता होना चाहिए, सिर्फ टैक्सेबिलिटी की बात नहीं है. जो आपको मिलने वाला बैंक में वो भी अलग होगा. चलो ठीक है. ओके, डीए फॉर्मिंग पार्ट एक है, कम रेलेवेंट. चलो ठीक है. कमीशन, देयर इज दे हैव मेंशन. अरे हैव दे मेंशन कि कमीशन फॉर्म्स इज अ फिक्स्ड परसेंटेज ऑफ टर्नओवर और नॉट? हाँ, अरे ये तो बोला ही नहीं. इज कमीशन अ फिक्स्ड परसेंटेज ऑफ टर्नओवर? नो. Then is this commission relevant to us? It's a fixed monthly component. It's not based on a percentage of turnover. Is it relevant to us? No, it is not. Okay, it is not. Only that commission is relevant to us, which is based on a fixed percentage of turnover. Because for the purpose of calculation of 1010AA, which is leave salary, we need the definition of salary is basic plus DA forming part plus commission based on as fixed percentage of turnover. Okay, तो मतलब कमीशन अगर फिक्स परसेंटेज ऑफ टर्नओवर नहीं है तो कमीशन को भी इग्नोर करना है. बोनस को तो आपने लास्ट सम में इग्नोर किया था, तो आई विल नॉट आस्क यू दिस सिली क्वेश्चन. आई नो यू विल ऑटोमेटिकली इग्नोर इट. ओके, चलो ठीक है. लीव अवेल ड्यूरिंग द सर्विस 480 डेज. लीव मिला कितना था? लीव मिला था 30 डेज एवरी ईयर. 30 डेज दे गेव एवरी ईयर. इन्होंने 20 साल काम किए तो इनको 600 दिन लीव मिले होंगे. इन्होंने 480 डेज यूज किया है, मतलब 120 दिन बच गए. ओके, लीव क्रेडिट इज 120 डेज. इज इट क्लियर? दिस इज सिंपल मैथ्स. ये तो आप ही मतलब अगर आप ही कहीं काम करेंगे तो ये बड़े बड़े अकाउंटिंग रखते हैं हम लोग लीव्स का. इतने लीव्स मिले, इतने लैप्स में, इतने अवेल किए हैं, बाकी इतने बाकी अभी यूज करना है. करेक्ट, ये तो हम खुद ही अकाउंटिंग रखते हैं. करेक्ट. ओके, चलो. You are required to compute taxable leave salary assuming he is a government employee, assuming he is a non-government employee. Government employee के लिए सबसे पहले हम देखेंगे is he receiving it on retirement or during his service. Leave credit means कितना लीव बचा? 600 मिले, 480 यूज हुए, 120 बच गए. That is leave balance credit. Okay. चलो, गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय रिसीविंग एट द टाइम ऑफ रिटायरमेंट कंप्लीटली एग्जेम्प्ट अंडर सेक्शन 1010AA. ठीक है. Non-government employee, we need to calculate. So let us first put leave salary received. How much? 5 lakhs. Outer column में डाल के छोड़ दो एक बार. Inner column में आता है exemption निकालना है. Exemption आपको notes में वर्क करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि इसमें 4 लिमिट्स हैं. तो 2 लिमिट तो ऊपर ही लिख दो. एक है अमाउंट रिसीव्ड which is 5 lakhs. एक है 25 lakhs का statutory limit. ओके, और 2 अमाउंट्स आपको वर्कआउट करने पड़ेंगे तो वो नोट्स में नीचे करो. ठीक है, लेट अस डू द फर्स्ट वर्किंग. फर्स्ट वर्किंग क्या है? 10 month सैलरी बेस्ड ऑन एवरेज लास्ट. और वो भी इसमें 2 साल के बीच में सैलरी चेंज हुई थी. तो कितना? 5000. तो ही मस्ट हैव, अगर हमको लास्ट 10 मंथ्स लेने हैं, मतलब हमको लेना है नवंबर, अक्टूबर, सितंबर, अगस्त, जुलाई, जून, मई, अप्रैल. तो 10 महीने तो है. 10 महीने तो है. 8 महीने, 8 महीने यहाँ पे, और भी पहले 2 महीने लेने होंगे. ठीक है, तो आपको एटलीस्ट 1000 तो विद इफेक्ट फ्रॉम 1 अप्रैल बढ़ा था, मतलब 5000 इज आफ्टर दैट इंक्रीज. current is 5000 which was maybe 4000 earlier, and then on 1 April it was increased to 5000. so आप 5000 तो you can take for April to November, मतलब 8 months. और बाकी उससे पहले आपको लेना होगा 4000 फॉर 2 more months. Am I clear? और सैलरी में डीए फॉर्मिंग पार्ट भी लेना है. तो डीए फॉर्मिंग पार्ट क्या है? 60% ऑफ 3000, मतलब हाउ मच? 1800 per month into 10. So what is the calculation? 5000 into 8 months plus 4000 into 2 months. This is basic. Plus 3000 into 10 into 60%. This is DA forming part. कितना आ रहा है? यही तो सैलरी है ना हमारी लास्ट 10 मंथ्स की. 66,000 आ रहा है. चलो ठीक है. तो एक लिमिट ये भी है, 10 मंथ सैलरी बेस्ड ऑन एवरेज सैलरी ऑफ लास्ट 10 मंथ्स. वो भी आप ऊपर जाके लिख दो. एक लिमिट ये भी है, ये भी लिख दो. चलो अब हम निकालते हैं नेक्स्ट लिमिट. एवरीबडी क्लियर विद दिस ना? आई एम रिमूविंग दिस. We have taken basic plus DA forming part for the last 10 months, and there was a change in salary, so we accordingly factored it. Okay, we ignored commission because it is not turnover linked here. Okay, chalo, let's do the next solution. The next bit of the exemption. Cash equivalent of leave credit. Leave credit कितना है? Leave credit तो 120 days है, हमने ऐसे ही निकाल लिया verbally. Leave credit is equal to 30 days into 20 years per day per year minus 480 days which was actually availed, which is equal to 120 remaining. लीव क्रेडिट तुमने ऐसे ही निकाल लिया. अब हमको करना है, इसका क्या करना है, इसका इंटू एवरेज सैलरी पर मंथ करना है. ठीक है, अगर एवरेज सैलरी पर मंथ करना है तो सपोज 10 मंथ्स की सैलरी आप ही ने निकाली है लास्ट पार्ट में 66,000. अगर 10 मंथ्स की सैलरी 66,000 है तो पर 1 मंथ की सैलरी डिवाइडेड बाय 10 हो गई. ओके, एंड देन यू नीड टू मल्टीप्लाई दिस विथ, because this is monthly salary. Okay, this is monthly salary. 10 month salary divided by 10 has made it a monthly salary. Now you have number of days in. Number of days को तो month से नहीं convert कर सकते, तो number of days को आपको पहले months में convert करना पड़ेगा. Did you understand what I did? 66,000 is 10 month salary. So we have to first calculate it to 1 month salary. We divided it by 10. We got 1 month salary. 120 is days. Days cannot be multiplied by monthly salary. We need to calculate in terms of months. 120 days is equivalent to 120 by 30 months. Okay? जब दो एक ही लेवल में आ गए, एक ही यूनिटरी मेथड में आ गए, अब हम उनका ऑपरेशन कर सकते हैं ना. 10 months की सैलरी को we brought it to 1 month. Number of days of leave credit को we brought it to number of months. Then we are multiplying monthly salary with number of months. Then it makes some logical sense and we have got some amount. What is it? 26,400. तो fourth limit आपके केस में ये है. अब बताओ least of the following क्या है? 26,400. Yes, 26,400 को आप ऊपर में upper limit 5 लाख से लेस करेंगे तो आपको मिलेगा taxable leave salary in the case of point number B, question number B. And what is that amount? 473,600. Perfect. Perfect. People, if you all are doing this even without my showing the solution, तो सोचो आपने पहली बार तो टैक्स पढ़ा है, मैंने आपको सॉल्यूशन का पेज दिखाया ही नहीं. You are solving on your own. You are giving me the answers. And after you have given me the answers, I'm such a cruel teacher that after you have given me the answers, then I show you the solution. Because I know that if you are applying the concepts yourself, you will be able to get the solution. But if I show you the solution, you will not apply the concept. Okay, this is with you. जिन लोगों को नहीं समझ में आया, I am 100% sure if you look at the solution, if you read the concept again after the class, you will understand. If you still don't understand, you please ask in the next class. Okay? Chalo. Let's go to the next terminal benefit, retrenchment compensation. GPLRB में फोर्थ नंबर है रिट्रेंचमेंट का. इसका नंबर है 1010B, क्योंकि 1010, 1010A और 1010AA तो हमारा ग्रेचुइटी, पेंशन और लीव एनकैशमेंट में यूज हो गया. इसके लिए नंबर बचा 1010B. ये क्या होता है? Less popular in exams. Okay, if you want to write, you can write. मतलब because see, I understand just before exams you can't read everything, so you need to demarcate between very important and important or not so important. This is not so important. Okay, chalo. Retrenchment compensation. It means compensation paid under Industrial Disputes Act. या मतलब एक एक्ट में स्पेसिफिकली compensation दिया जाता है. Question number 5 repeat. 5 कहाँ है भाई? Which question number 5? Ma'am, enrichment little bit हिंदी में बता दो. Enrichment you mean? Entitlement you mean? You mean leave entitlement? Yes? Okay. Leave entitlement is what? You were supposed to get in the last sum, you were supposed to get 30 days of leave for every year of service. This man worked for 20 years. How many days of leave he has got? 600 leaves he could have taken in his entire lifetime period of service. How many he took? He actually took only 480. So how many unused leave is remaining with him? 600 minus 480. Subhanshi. Leave entitlement is what does the policy of your contract, employment contract, how many leaves they allow you in a year. Okay. Leave availed is how many leaves you actually took. And leave credit is how many leaves remain with you, the unused leaves. And the calculation, one of the limbs is linked to the unavailed leaves, which is called the leave credit. It is usually in number of days. So we calculate in terms of months. Then we apply the average monthly salary to determine the value of the leave not used. Okay? Chalo, take it. Ma'am, can you explain? Explain 2 months again. You mean 2 months while we calculated 4,000 into 2? Rihanna, you mean why did we take 4,000 into 2? Rihanna, quick. 2 months because his salary changed on 1st April. So if you have to calculate number of 10 months from the date of his retirement, so it happened so that 8 months fell in this year when his salary was 5,000 and 2 months fell in the earlier year when his salary was 4,000. So that's why I had to take 4,000 into 2. Otherwise, 2 months has no meaning. It is in this sum that I had to do that. Okay, illustration 5, repeat, but I have not done illustration 5. I'm so confused. So anyway, retrenchment compensation. Retrenchment compensation is paid under a statutory act, which is the Industrial Disputes Act, and or it's a compensation paid on transfer of employment or closing down of an undertaking. So if somebody is stopping one business and therefore they are saying that these many people we have to lay off, retrenchment, commonly known as common bhasha mein layoff. Common bhasha mein layoff. You can write in your notes. Retrenchment means layoff. So if you are supposed you're laid off under an act, or if you're laid off because the undertaking where you were working, that business line where you were working in a company, that has been closed. Yeah, they have decided that they will do some structuring, internal group structuring, and they will move you from company A to company B. Or they want to leave. I mean, they want to leave you midway. They are laying you off. So they need to give you some compensation, okay, for livelihood purpose, right? That is called retrenchment compensation. And compensation on account of termination and modification of terms of employment would be, because normally an employment contract is supposed to go on until you make until you satisfy some reasons that you have to leave, okay, or you resign on your own. But if suppose there was no disciplinary action that could be taken against you, you have not reached retirement age, and you have not resigned yourself, but still they want you to leave, they want to remove you, then it's a layoff. Okay, so that is then they have to give you some compensation. So this compensation is on account of termination and due to modification in terms of employment. Normal terms of employment didn't provide that. Suddenly they, are doing it beyond the contract. So if you receive this, normally it is taxable as profits in lieu of salary, which is also a part of the salary meaning. Okay, but there are some exemption under 1010B. Exemption limits are not applicable if compensation is paid under central government approved scheme. That means there is no upper limit. If you are getting compensation under a central government approved scheme, there is no limit on the exemption. That means full exemption. That means full exemption. It doesn't mean exemption not applicable. It says limit not applicable, which means full exemption. What is average pay? Okay, in the computation you will use average pay has been used, not average salary, because generally you may also have to lay off workers, the laborers who don't earn salaries but wages, and in the definition of salaries, wages are also included. So for them also you need to see them through the same lens, but how it is called may be average pay and not average salary. Okay, so average pay means average of wages payable to workmen. In case of then you have heard dihadi laborer, who are paid maybe daily, they may be paid weekly, they may be paid monthly, right? So there can be different categories of laborers, right? So based on the category of laborers, they have defined the average pay. So if someone receives monthly, then last 3 complete calendar months you will take. If someone receives weekly, then 4 calendar weeks you will take. If someone receives daily, then 12 full working weeks you will take. And if that laborer has not served this requisite period in the particular company, then for the period for which he has actually worked, that he will take. So the number of days for which he has worked, or the number of days given like this, whichever is lower, for that you need to take the average pay. Okay. Not very important, just keep in mind. I mean, remember the limits as such, not very important. Wage means almost everything that you had to pay, that the worker was supposed to get, entitled to get in cash or kind. There are some non-monetary benefits also included. It just does not include, just remember what it does not include. Because normally, if you know, cash or non-cash, right, wages can include cash or non-cash. Even a house or a other benefits, supply of light, water, if you give, those things are included in salary or wage. What is not included is something you should remember, that bonus, contribution to some benefit schemes or gratuity, these things are not included. Okay. BCG is not included. BCG here is not Boston Consulting Group. BCG here is bonus, contribution to fund, and gratuity. These are not included. And what is included? Cash and non-cash benefits. Okay. Exemption available under both regimes. I have told you terminal benefits, exemption available under both regimes. Okay. Should not be very difficult to remember. Let's see. Just remember, in case of monthly workman, you need to take 3 months. In case of weekly, you need to take 4 weeks. In case of daily, you need to take 12 weeks, working weeks. And if the person has worked for lesser period than this, then you take the number of days for which he is actually worked. Okay? All right. Ma'am, third point. Which third point? Which third point? Ma'am, we have to learn this. Yes. So wages meaning, if you remember the way I have broadly told you, that cash plus non-cash you will include, but BCG you will not include. Bonus, contribution to some scheme, and gratuity you will not include. So that will give you the wage meaning. And for the category of worker, you need to remember the period for which you need to consider the average. So say for somebody monthly paid, you take 3 months. For somebody weekly paid, you take 4 weeks. For somebody daily paid, you take 12 weeks. And if the person has worked for lesser than this period, then you take the number of days for which he has actually worked. Okay? If you think like this, you will be able to remember easily. Okay? Chalo. Okay. These you write what I have scribbled now. You also write with your along your notes. Cash plus non-cash, but exclude BCG. Okay. Ma'am, why bonus not included? There is no logic. Okay, because bonus is, I'll tell you, there is a logic. Bonus is not a regular payment. You get maybe once in a year. Okay, you may get. It's a non-recurring benefit. When you are calculating average of something, if you also factor a non-recurring benefit, then the average gets tempered. Average of something is good when you base it on regular payments. Understood? Maybe that is how you can remember. Wherever they have asked you to take average, they have never asked you to take bonus. In the earlier ones also they didn't ask you. Okay? Otherwise, this is in the law. This is how it is. Lawmakers didn't tell me the logic. This is my logic of remembering it. Okay? चलो next. हाँ अब देखो ऐसे और भी नॉन रेकरिंग आइटम्स होते हैं या और भी रेकरिंग आइटम्स भी हो सकते हैं. यू मे से कि भाई why only take these things, or in the last example why only you took DA forming part, you should have taken HRA also, वो भी monthly मिलता है. I am just giving you a logic, but that does not strictly apply everywhere because they have given a comprehensive list. My logics will only help you to remember certain things, but you cannot universally apply. Okay. चलो नेक्स्ट. तो इसका बेनिफिट क्या है, मतलब कितना एग्जेम्पशन मिलता है? लीस्ट ऑफ द फॉलोइंग. कॉम्पेंसेशन एक्चुअली रिसीव्ड, यू ऑल नो दैट, 5 lakhs. So what used to be 20 lakhs in gratuity, 25 lakhs in leave encashment is 5 lakhs in retrenchment compensation. ठीक है? Statutory limit 5 lakhs. Amount actually received तो one of the limits होता ही है, सब में ही है. Next, 15 days of average pay. 15 days of average pay इनको चाहिए. तो एवरेज पे कैसे निकालते हो? You have seen the number of period for which we need to consider. What you should consider, all cash plus non-cash wages, but not being BCG. तो आप उस पीरियड का एवरेज पे निकालेंगे सबसे पहले. You do 15/30 क्योंकि you need to take 15 days of average पे. You multiply by the number of completed years of service. उसमें अगर एक्सेस, अगर पार्ट फ्रैक्शनल मंथ्स भी है, जैसे 26 years 8 months है, ठीक है, तो अगर 6 के ऊपर है तो आप अपवर्ड राउंड ऑफ करेंगे. 26, you just write here, 26 years 8 months is equal to 27 years. Example, what they are trying to say, 26 years plus 8 months is equal to 27 years. You have done this solution, so you will be able to relate to the example what I mean by this, right? When did you upward round off? आपने earlier एक केस में किया था. अब इतना सब कुछ पढ़ लिया है तो you will have to tell me ये upward rounding off किस केस में किया था और किस केस में नहीं किए करने को बोला गया था. जब हम ग्रेजुइटी कर रहे थे एंड पेमेंट और ग्रेजुइटी एक्ट में कवर्ड थे, तो उधर बोला गया था नंबर ऑफ कंप्लीटेड इयर्स ऑफ सर्विस में 6 months के ऊपर हो तो अपवर्ड राउंड ऑफ करो. बट नॉट कवर्ड अंडर ग्रेजुइटी एक्ट में बोला गया था अगर फ्रैक्शनल ईयर हो तो इग्नोर करो, राउंड ऑफ मत करो. उस केस में 26 years 8 months भी 26 years हो रहा था. रिमेंबर? यस, करेक्शन. ग्रेजुइटी अंडर होगा, दिस हैज बीन टेकन फ्रॉम देयर. ठीक है, अभी प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है, अभी तो बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, अरे दिस इज सिमिलर टू दैट, याद करने में इजी हो रहा है, पर जितनी सिमिलैरिटी है ना, दैट लीड्स टू कंफ्यूजन आल्सो. आधा इससे सिमिलर है, आधा उससे सिमिलर है, अल्टीमेटली खिचड़ी बन जाती है. सो देखो प्रॉब्लम है, बट एक बार में करोगे तो प्रॉब्लम है. अगर आप इसको पीरियोडिकली रिवाइज करेंगे, इट विल गेट सेट इन योर माइंड. ओके, एंड इफ यू स्टिल फील टेंडेंसी ऑफ कंफ्यूजन, देन you leave this topic and you would rather focus on more important ones, which is gratuity and pension, which are more popular. Okay, it's not any advice that ye aayega exam mein, ye nahi aayega, just saying based on common practice. Okay, all right. Chalo next. टर्मिनल बेनिफिट VRS. ये VRS है, ये हमने 1010C, तो GPLRV में ये V है और ये लास्ट आता है. 1010 हो गया, 1010A हो गया, 1010 ग्रेजुइटी, 1010A पेंशन, 1010AA लीव एनकैशमेंट, 1010B रिट्रेंचमेंट कॉम्पनसेशन, एंड नाउ वी हैव कम टू VRS 1010C. ठीक है, इसमें क्या होता है, लमसम पेमेंट और इंस्टॉलमेंट्स आर गिवन एट द टाइम ऑफ वॉलंटरी रिटायरमेंट. दिस इज आल्सो टैक्सेबल एज प्रॉफिट्स इन ल्यू ऑफ सैलरी. तो प्रॉफिट्स इन ल्यू ऑफ सैलरी के हमको 2 एग्जांपल मिल गए अभी तक. तो पिछला वाला मिल गया हमको रिट्रेंचमेंट कॉम्पनसेशन और बिकॉज ऑफ मॉडिफिकेशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट, और ये भी मिल गया VRS वॉलंटरी रिटायरमेंट, क्योंकि ये दोनों थोड़े एबनॉर्मल पेमेंट्स हैं. आपको नॉर्मली इन द कोर्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ये होता नहीं है ना कि जाएंगे तो क्या होगा. यहाँ तो आपको अनएक्सेप्शनली जाना पड़ रहा है, रेजिग्नेशन या रिटायरमेंट के अलावा आपको जाना पड़ रहा है, या वॉलंटरी रिटायरमेंट लेना पड़ रहा है. ओके, किस किस को मिलता है? मिलता तो किसी को भी मिल सकता है, पर किस किस को एग्जेम्पशन मिलता है ये देखना है. ठीक है, तो एलिजिबल अंडरटेकिंग्स आर PSU, कंपनी, एनी कंपनी, ऐसा नहीं है गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय के लिए, एनी कंपनी, स्टेट अथॉरिटी, लोकल अथॉरिटी, कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी, यूनिवर्सिटी अंडर एनी एक्ट, IIT, मैनेजमेंट इंस्टीट्यूट, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, नोटिफाइड इंस्टीट्यूशन. छोड़ा किसको है, तो ऑलमोस्ट सबको मिलता है. ये लिस्ट आपको लर्न करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज दे कवर्ड सो मेनी थिंग्स कि छूटा कौन थे, तो ऑलमोस्ट सबको मिलता है. ओके, लेकिन इसमें एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है which may be in the exams or in the sums you may not be able to test, but there is a very fundamental condition that it must be paid under a voluntary retirement scheme. ठीक है, एक स्कीम होना चाहिए, बिकॉज ये एक अलग चीज है, ये रेगुलर बात नहीं है, ये हर कोई वॉलंटरी रिटायरमेंट नहीं लेता है. एक स्कीम निकलती है कि भाई कंपनी इज गोइंग थ्रू दिस क्राइसिस, यू ऑल टेक, वी आर नॉट लेइंग यू ऑफ, यू टेक अ वॉलंटरी रिटायरमेंट, और उस तरह से इनडायरेक्टली कंपनी एम्प्लॉय खुद बोलता है वी वांट टू टेक रिटायरमेंट, तो एक स्कीम बनती है. VRS बहुत, इसीलिए वॉलंटरी रिटायरमेंट स्कीम बोलते हैं उसको. तो वो स्कीम बहुत जरूरी है. Although in the questions you will have to assume कि ये scheme तो है ही. चलो, scheme should be made in accordance with prescribed guidelines and based on economic viability. Actually, the company is going through a tough time, and therefore employees are, voluntarily taking retirement to reduce the future cost of company. And exemption is available under both regimes, and it is available to employee who has completed 10 years of service or 40 years of age. This is prescribed. 10 years of service or 40 years of age. 10 years of service or 40 years of age. But this limit of number of years of service or number of years of age is not relevant for PSU. उनको कोई भी एज हो, कोई भी नंबर ऑफ इयर्स ऑफ सर्विस हो, उनको फिर भी एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा. सो टू दैट एक्सटेंट PSU वालों को, गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज को थोड़ा सा फेवरेटिज्म है. नॉन गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज को भी एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा, पर गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज के लिए कोई एज या फिर नंबर ऑफ इयर्स ऑफ सर्विस की क्राइटेरिया नहीं है. While for other employees, there is a criteria that the person should have completed at least 10 years of service or 40 years of age, then the exemption will be given. Okay. अगर relief मिल गया under section 89 for any assessment year in respect of VRS, then this exemption will not be available. What is relief under 89? We had hinted it in the last class कि अगर because of our taxation principle of taxing on due or receipt basis, whichever is earlier, अगर there is a situation कि जिस year में आपने tax दे दिया है ऐसे on receipt basis, उस year एक tax rate था, और जिस year actually due हुआ है later, where the tax rate changed and you are getting prejudiced because of that. हाँ, अगर उसी साल सब कुछ हो जाता, you would have to pay less tax, और अभी the difference in tax rate की वजह से you are paying more tax. तो फिर there is a mechanism of relief to compensate you for the change in tax rate between the 2 years. It's a specific mechanism. It has specific rules when it will apply. We will do section 89 separately in the next class. But for now, just remember, if you get any benefit in that section, then you don't get benefit in this section. So they are mutually exclusive. If you get benefit here, you do not get benefit there. If you get benefit there, you do not get benefit here. And this is once in a lifetime exemption. जैसे आपने बाकी चीजें देखी कि भाई 20 lakhs का लिमिट एक बार ग्रेचुइटी ले लिया, तो जो अनयूज्ड लिमिट है नेक्स्ट टाइम ले लेना. Then for the other limit, that if there was a 25 lakhs limit in the other case of leave encashment, then they said, okay, if you, to the extent it is unused, you take it in the next year. But in case of VRS, that kind of thing is not available. That unused limit, you take it in the next year, because it is once in a lifetime. The exemption that is available to you, either you take it now, you take it now, and whatever you could not lose, you are not getting it again. It is once in a lifetime. This is one of its kind. Baki other terminal benefits don't have this condition. Okay? All right. Next. Something with my screen. Miss last second point. About relief under section 89. I just wanted to tell you there is a special mechanism of relief under section 89 given in the law. They are just trying to tell you that if you get any benefit there, you will not get benefit here. What is that benefit? What is that relief? We will do in detail when we do that section. Okay, it's a mechanism which is laid in the law. We'll have to do it in detail. Okay. But if you have got benefit under one section, you don't get benefit again under other section, is basically the essence of this point. Just a second, my screen has frozen up. Just a second. हाँ चलो ठीक है. Now I hope the screen is visible. हाँ चलो ठीक है. Okay. So, okay. Terminal benefit BRS का we were taking the exemption. So section 1010C में क्या है? They have laid down exemptions. So they first defined the eligible undertakings, and we know that we saw a full-fledged list of government employees, PSU employees, any other normal company, local authority, cooperative society, IIT, management institutes. So let's broadly say that all the types of institutes are mostly covered. There is, I mean, almost everybody is eligible. Employees of almost every undertaking are eligible for this. But PSUs mein, there is no bar on the number of years of service or on the age that is a fixed limit in the case of other cases, other employees. Okay. So what is exempt? Following, least of the following is exempt. First is amount of gratuity, amount of BRS actually received, which is always the first criteria in all the exemption limits. Second is there has to be a fixed statutory limit. So it can be 20 lakhs in gratuity, it can be 25 lakhs in leave encashment, but it is 5 lakhs in case of BRS. In other two cases, you had studied that unused limit can be used in the next time. But here it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Unused limit gets lapsed. Next, last drawn salary into remaining number of months of service left is what you need to do. When they say salary, what does salary mean? Salary is where the law, has the authority, where income tax lawmakers don't have to fall back on any other law from which that benefit arose. For example, payment of gratuity. Then in all other cases, they have generally defined, at least in terminal benefits, salary is my life, my rules. What is it? Salary plus DA forming part plus commission as fixed percentage of turnover. But when they were determining gratuity exemption for employee covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, they tried to align it with the Payment of Gratuity Act, and there the definition was basic plus DA, full DA, whether or not forming part. Okay. Chalo. So last drawn salary, average salary into number of months of service. Always when you multiply these things, calculate these things, remember that the unit is same. So if you're taking last drawn salary, it should be monthly salary multiplied by number of months. Okay, then it will make sense in your mind also that what you are actually doing. When we were doing leave encashment and we were doing leave entitlement, then we saw that leave entitlement was a number of days. So we first calculated the salary in number of months, monthly salary, and then we calculated the leave entitlement in number of months also. Then we multiplied. You have to apply unitary method. At least what you are applying must make sense. Or whatever you're multiplying. Monthly salary can be multiplied with number of months. For daily, if you have days in one hand, then you need to make the other thing also in days. And that's how the formula is automatically set. Okay. So 3 months salary into completed years of service. This is because they want to remunerate you for 3 months in lieu of every year of service. Here don't apply unitary method. This is a different intention altogether. Okay. 3 months for every year of service. That's why they have calculated like this. So here you will multiply by the number of years. Achha, and what will you do for the fractional number of years? Whether you will upward round off or you will ignore, what will you do? Have they mentioned what to do for fractional number of years? They have not mentioned. So let's see. 3 months salary into completed years of service. Yes. Okay. So let's quickly read this illustration. Very simple. Datta received VRS of 7 lakhs after 30 years, 4 months. So there is a fraction. There is a fraction. What to do with the fraction? If they have not mentioned anything to deal with the fraction, like they said in gratuity for employee covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, they said, right, if it is more than 6 months, then you upward round off. Even in retrenchment compensation, they said, if it is more than 6 months, you upward round off. But in other cases, they are not saying anything. If they are not saying anything, then what do you do? If they are not saying what to do with fraction, what do you do? Ignore, correct? If law has not recognized the fraction, then it means it doesn't exist in their head. If it doesn't exist in their head, then what are you and me going to do? Completely ignore. Okay? All right. So he still has 6 years of service left, the remaining years of service left. Okay. At the time of voluntary retirement, he was drawing basic salary 20,000. So this is monthly salary. Then there's a DA forming part 5,000. Okay, what they have mentioned is already the DA forming part and not the entire DA. So very good. We always wanted this only. So they've given us very good. So okay, and there is no hint about commission based on fixed percentage of turnover. So we won't take it. Let's assume it's 0. So what should be our average salary if we have to take monthly salary? It is 20 plus 5, it should be 25,000. Now you tell me how do you calculate. So in the outer column, like we always did, we first write the VRS received, we write 7 lakhs. And then in the inner column, we try to find the exemption least of the following. There, first we write the amount of monetary statutory limit that is given to us. In this case, it is 5 lakhs. Second, we write the amount of VRS actually received in his hands, which is 7 lakhs. Third, we write, what do we write? Here we have to actually calculate. So now here you have to apply your mind. Tell me, what will you write? They said 3 months salary into completed years of service. Monthly salary you have already determined as 25,000 here. Into number of completed years of service. Correct? But is this enough? I'm telling you, here we make a mistake. Why? I am telling you that also. When we do gratuity, when we do other things, we are accustomed to apply monthly salary. Here we have a question of 3 months salary. So just don't apply monthly salary. Apply why? So why everyone in every other case you are getting a limit of monthly salary for every year of service? Maybe fraction ignored, not ignored, whatever. But the essence is monthly salary for every year of service. Why over here you are getting 3 months of salary for every year of service? Because this is an exceptional case and they want to compensate the employee. The person who is earning VRS did not want to earn VRS. There is some situation, financial situation in the company because of which he has to opt for voluntary retirement. Okay, and if whatever he is getting in lump sum, which he never wanted to do also in the first place, if you put so much of tax on that, then he's already in a problem. He has already lost his job and you are putting more tax liability on him. So he will feel very burdened. So lawmakers said, we will not give you 1, we will give you 3 times exemption as compared to other terminal benefits. Okay, that's why this limit, this is just my logic of remembering it. They never came to tell me why they made this. So 3 months salary so that you empathize with somebody who's already in a financial crisis. Okay, so 3 into 25,000 into 30. So this is 22.5 lakhs. Okay, and what is the other limit? Last drawn salary, which is 25,000 into number of remaining years of months of service left. Remaining months of service left. So they have told you 6 years of service left. 6 years have how many months? 6 years have 6 into 12 months, 72 months. So if you multiply the monthly salary with the number of months, which is 72, which are left for him, that means if he had continued in the organization before his statutory age of retirement, if he had continued, he would have at least earned this much, assuming salary, assume the definition as is basic plus DA forming part. So assuming this is the salary, if he had continued in the organization, he would have earned this much monthly salary for 12 more years, for 6 more years at 12 months per year. So this is actually the amount he is foregoing. This is a way of remembering this limit. This is actually the amount he is foregoing. This is 18 lakhs. So basically these two criteria are hardship based. That, for first one is in recognition of his past work and second one in recognition of his future foregone salary. Okay. Foregone in the sense it has not even accrued to him. Don't confuse it with what we did last. Okay. Foregone means it has not accrued to him. It would have accrued to him had he continued. Okay. All right. So the least of these is 5 lakhs. And what will be taxed is 2 lakhs of VRS. Okay. Now I will give you a clean solution in a better handwriting. This you all have solved with me. I can see in the chat that people have come to the right answer. This is how you would present it in the exam. Outer column, VRS received, less inner column. Okay, exemption. How much exemption? Calculated down. First is the limit, 7 lakhs, then statutory limit, then 3 months into completed years, and last drawn into remaining months of service. So in the third point, remember it's not average monthly, it is 3 months. And in the last point, remember it is remaining months and not years. Okay. All right. I hope you all are clear with this. I will not leave before explaining this topic to you. Deductions under section 16. Okay. So when we were doing gross salary, At that time only we were, when we were doing chargeability and everything, then we told you that between section 15 of chargeability and section 17 of definitions, there is a section called 16, which gives some deductions to be allowed against gross salary, so that you can derive the net taxable salary. Any sum, if they ask you for net taxable salary, they are incomplete without giving these deductions. And more importantly, they will not prompt you to give these deductions. You will have to apply yourself. You will have to remember that if the question asks me to find net taxable salary, then I have to voluntarily give this deduction. Okay. And I'll ask now the balance chat questions. I'll ask at the end of the class. Let me finish this first. Okay. So this is basically the pro forma of how it works, so that you've seen a picture of what you are calculating, where it will go. Okay, when you're calculating income from salaries, suppose you have salary, bonus, commission. So far in many sums you have seen all this. Let them be A. Then you have allowances. You saw so many allowances yesterday or day before yesterday. Suppose you have found out the taxable value. You have removed the exempt parts, and let that be B. Then there were some perquisites. We will do in the subsequent classes. There are some perquisites. Let's find out the taxable value out of that, and that is C. When you add all of this, you get gross salary. I'm assuming it's a regular year. He has not received any terminal benefit. Okay. So this would normally, for a normal employee, regular year, this would have been his, and suppose some bonus, etc. Bonus already captured above. This would have been his gross salary, which is B. Now against gross salary, you get some deductions. There are 3 types of deductions, and there are only 3 types of deductions. This is a comprehensive list of what you can get under section 16. Okay. One is called most popular standard deduction. Standard deductions means full rebate. That means, see, a salaried individual does not get any credit of the expenses he incurs in his personal life. Okay. So he is, if he were doing any business, then he would have earned something, but he would have also spent on important things required to do that business. Okay. In a normal, when you do PGBP head of income, you will find that if business income is taxable, then business expenses are reduced also from business income, and only net amount is taxable. But in case of salary, have I ever told you that you please remove your fooding expense from salary and then you offer the net amount to tax? No, because there is no mechanism. You tend to offer your gross receipt as if you don't have to incur anything if you're a salaried person. To acknowledge the personal expenses that you have to incur even to perform salary duty, law has given a fixed amount of standard deduction. Okay, that we cannot estimate how much you have actually incurred. We are not even bothered by what you have actually incurred. We are giving you a fixed rebate that against your taxable gross salary, you reduce an amount of 50,000 under the optional regime, which is under the old regime, and 75,000 under the default regime. This is the first instance where default regime gives you something better. Okay, gives you something where you can reduce your taxable income. Otherwise, it will give you lower tax rates eventually. But something to reduce your taxable income more as compared to the optional regime, this is perhaps the only instance. Okay. So over here, you get more. This is an exception. You get more deduction under default regime and less deduction under optional regime. This is an exception. Normally, always in calculation of taxable salary, optional regime will give you more benefits than default regime. So please write exception. Exception, that is more for default. So what is 75,000 for default is 50,000 for standard deduction. Ma'am, what if D in our example is less than 50,000? It is suppose 40,000. Suppose the person's salary is very less. Your person worked for only part of the year. D is less than 40,000, 50,000. Suppose it is 40,000. Then, ma'am, how do we give 50,000? How do we give 75,000? Tell me, will you have a loss from the head salary? What will you do in that case? If your gross salary is less than these limits, then how much will you allow as deduction? 40,000. Correct. So if your gross salary is lesser than these limits, then limit the deduction up to this. But generally, it's going to be more than this limit. And therefore, you will cap the deduction up to 50 or 75 as the regime may be. All right, this is one. This you have to give in every case if you're required to calculate net salary. because it is one or the other available under both regimes. So just you need to pick the relevant amount and calculate all these. Okay. Entertainment allowance. Now, entertainment allowance is not, firstly, it is not given to all kinds of employees. Secondly, it is not exempt in the hands of all kinds of employees. It is exempt, it is deductible only in the hands of government employee under optional regime. So it is firstly only for government employee. Secondly, only under optional regime, you are going to give this kind of deduction, which is also lower of the following: 1/5 of basic salary, or 5,000, or allowance actually received, whichever is lower. Does the amount of spending matter? No. Why entertainment allowance to government employee? They say that for government employees, generally, in the course of their business, they have to incur some expenditure on hospitality, on entertainment of their customers or whatever. So that's why this let us give them. Okay. So I don't know why they assume that private sector employees don't have to do the same. But the law is that entertainment allowance will be exempt or will be deductible. If it were a question of exemption, it would have been before calculating gross salary. This is a case of deduction. It is given below, after calculating gross salary. Okay, only to government employees, only under optional regime, lower of 5,000 or 1/5 of basic salary, or entertainment allowance received regardless of amount spent. Okay. Next, professional tax paid during the year. The professional tax is claimed on payment basis. It has to be paid during the year, not accrued. Okay. There are specific rules for specific deductions. This one is payment linked. While entertainment allowance has nothing to do with amount spent, professional tax is completely linked to the amount paid during the previous year by the employee. Okay. So suppose he pays himself, then very good. Maximum limit is 2,500 per annum. But if it is borne by employer on behalf of employee, say employer said, I will pay on your behalf. Okay. Then what happens? It becomes a perquisite first, because it was an obligation of employee paid by employer. So it is going to get taxable in part C and get included in D. Okay. And then here you will claim it as a deduction. What did I just say? When we do perquisites, we will revise and you will get better. It will become clear in your head. Okay. And then we come to the net taxable income, which is after allowing these three deductions: standard deduction, P-tax only to government employees, only under optional regime. Professional tax must be paid and only under optional regime, but can be given to regular employees also, up to 2,500 per annum. And even if paid by employer, you at least reduce it from here. Whether you take it as a perquisite, yes, you do, but that is separate thing. Okay. This is an exhaustive list of deductions under section 16. Apart from these three, there are none. All right. So let's just do one small example. I will not take much of your time. I'm completely cognizant of the time. Okay. See, very small example. The person is receiving basic pay, DA, commission, entertainment allowance, medical expense reimbursement, professional tax paid. Out of 2,000 of professional tax, 1,000 is paid by employer.
Shreya,
Yes.
sorry to disturb you. I guess this illustration you can take up in the next class, because actually no, I am getting messages from because deduction, students are feeling it very fast. They
Okay.
are not catch the deduction. So
Okay.
in the next class you can start from the deduction itself and then you can take this illustration.
Sure. Okay. Do attempt this as homework for those who understood, but we will definitely discuss in the class next
Yeah.
class. Okay.
Take. So, students, thank you, Shreya, for this wonderful session. So, apart from this deduction, I hope everything is clear to you, students, or do you have any doubts? Because I have some MCQs which I just want you to participate and give your answer on the basis of the last class and as well as the today's class. So, this will be your okay, Priyanka. So, I'll just ask some MCQ from you, all of you, and you just have give your answers and with the reasoning also. So whosoever got the right answer, just give it in the chat box. I will just allow them to unmute themselves and you can tell your reasoning also, how you drive the answer. So I'm just sharing my screen. Students, is my screen visible? Yeah, okay. So I'll just read the question. Mr. Kashyap received basic salary of rupees 20,000 per month from his employer. He also received children education allowance of rupees 3,000 for 3 children and transport allowance of rupees 1,800 per month. Assume he exercised the option of shifting out of the default tax regime. The amount of gross salary is four options are there. I am getting the answers from the students. I will advise ki don't go in so hurry. Just read the question carefully, the requirement, then only answer which is the correct option. Because what happened na, generally when you see the familiar questions na, you just without reading the requirement of the question, you just jump to the answer that this is the correct answer. So don't do that, whether it's a familiar question or so on. Just read the question carefully and the requirement of the question, then only give your answer in the chat box. Tell me, students. Now I am not receiving any answer. Option A, 2,62,600. Option B, 2,12,600. Option C, 2,11,600. And option D, 2,12,200. I'm getting option A, B, D. Okay, I'll just ठीक है. Pawan, would you like to give the reasoning of your answer?
B, ma'am.
Okay, why B?
Yes, ma'am.
Why? Give me the reasoning, the calculation, how you arrived the answer B. Pawan,
Yes, ma'am.
how you got answer B?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, Pawan, then Priyanka wants to give the answer. Yes,
गुड
Priyanka.
इवनिंग
Good
गुड
evening.
इवनिंग मैम। इसमें जो ऑप्शन है ना उससे
हाँ.
अलग आ रहा है मेरा आंसर, पर मेरे पास जस्टिफिकेशन है।
You just give me your reasoning, the amount which you are getting and the reasoning. So we will
ओके
decide
मैम।
कि options are wrong or where you have done something wrong.
ओके मैम। मैम बेसिक सैलरी इज 20,000 पर मंथ एंड
Okay.
इट कवर्स अंडर द ऑप्शनल टैक्स रिजीम।
Okay.
तो बेसिक सैलरी 2,40,000 पर ईयर हो गई।
Correct.
मैम चिल्ड्रन एजुकेशन अलाउंस है 100 रुपीज पर चाइल्ड है, अप टू मैक्सिमम ऑफ 2 चिल्ड्रन।
ठीक है.
और 200 ईयर 200 पर मंथ एग्जिम्ट होगा, तो फिर 2400 पर ईयर एग्जिम्ट करेंगे हम इसे।
ठीक, ओके।
मैम मैंने ना इसे मंथली करके निकाला, लाइक 3000 माइनस 24
So what is
200
what is your answer? What answer you are getting?
3000
You are telling
Ma'am,
three
children
out of the options are
taxable
correct.
होगा
So
32,600.
just a second. You are getting what?
Children education allowance 33,600.
But children education allowance तो यहाँ पर प्रियंका it's not written कि it's per month. 3000 is in total, ना?
Oh, sorry, ma'am. I taken wrong. Ma'am,
So
70 to 100 yearly taxable होगा children education allowance.
because you did it monthly, but 3000 is for the yearly. So you don't need to multiply by 12 first of all, which you have done.
Okay, ma'am.
ठीक है, तो I'll just explain you the reason. I'm getting many answer A, B, C, D. Everybody is giving different answer. First of all, yeah, Priyanka was right. 20,000 into 12, 2,40,000 your basic salary. There is no doubt in that. Then there's a transport allowance of 1,800 per month. I guess in that case also there is no doubt, because since Mr. Kashyap is not deaf and dumb or physically handicapped, so no exemption will be there for him for transport allowance. So 1,800 per month, it completely will be taxable. I guess up to that part, everybody has done correct. Now, the children education allowance. Two things are there in the children education allowance. First is, it's rupees 3,000. Here, per month is not written. So don't assume that it's per month. It's total for the year. First of all. Second, it is for 3 children. It means if you see, it is for 3 children, that it means it's a 1,000 per child. And the exemption, if you see, it's 100 rupees per month per child, which is the maximum amount of exemption. So if you see for one child, it is 100 into 12, 1,200. And for the another child also, it's a 1,200. But the amount of exemption has to be restricted to the amount of allowance which you are receiving from the employer. If you are receiving only 1,000 rupees for a child, how can you claim the exemption of 1,200? So you have to restrict the exemption up to rupees 1,000 per child, maximum of 2 children. So in this case, the exemption from children education allowance will be only 2,000. So 20,000 per month, 20,000 into 12, 2,40,000, 1,800 per month, and 1,800 into 12, that is your 21,600 transport allowance. Children education allowance is 3,000 minus your exemption of rupees 2,000. Then your salary will be, gross salary will be 2,62,600. Why I told to read the requirement of the question carefully? Because the requirement was to compute gross salary, not the net salary or the salary chargeable to taxes. So you don't need to reduce the standard deduction. So that's why I'm telling you, just read the question carefully. What is the requirement of the question? If the question is asking for the gross salary, don't reduce the professional tax or standard deduction or entertainment allowance if it is allowable. Don't be in so hurry. Yeah, so is it clear? This MCQ is clear to all of you? So, okay, now we move to MCQ number 2. Mr. Ramesh, a citizen of India, is employed in the Indian Embassy in Australia. He is a non-resident for assessment year 25-26. He receives salary and allowances in Australia from the Government of India for the year ended 31st March 2025 for services rendered by him in Australia. In addition, he is getting the perquisite also from the government. So, which of the following statements are correct if Mr. Ramesh has opted out of the default tax regime? First option is salary allowance perquisite, because it's received outside India, nothing is taxable in the hands of Mr. Ramesh because he is a non-resident. Second option, It is taxable because it is deemed to accrue or arise in India. So all salary, allowances, perquisite, everything is taxable in essence. C option, salary is taxable, but allowance and perquisites are exempt. Fourth option, salary is exempt, but allowance and perquisite are taxable. Okay, I am getting A, D, C, C. Okay, students, whosoever is giving the A answer, because he is a non-resident, so it will not be taxable in India. In your residential chapter, I guess you have learned about section 9, deemed to income, which is deemed to accrue or arise in India. In that section 9, subsection 1, clause 2 says कि if the salary is payable by the government of India to a citizen, Indian citizen, for the services rendered outside India, then it would be deemed to accrue or arise in India. So it doesn't matter whether he's a resident or non-resident, because if the salary is payable by the government of India for the services rendered outside India to an Indian citizen. So if you see, all the conditions are satisfied here for income to be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Salary is received from the government of India. Ramesh is the citizen of India for the services rendered outside India, and he is receiving salary, allowance and everything, because everything is taxable under salary. So all the 4 conditions are satisfied. So it means it will be deemed to accrue or arise in India, and it will be taxable as per section 9. So this is the first part. So option A will not be the correct option. Then in this salary chapter, ma'am has explained in the earlier session, section 10, clause 7, in which in such cases in which we are talking about 912, in that cases your allowances and perquisite will be exempt. In which cases? The same cases, person should be citizen of India. It would be by the government of India for the services rendered outside India. So it means the correct option is C, because the exemption is in regards for allowances and perquisite, not for the salary. So salary received by Mr. Ramesh is taxable because of deemed to accrue or arise in India, but allowances and perquisite are exempt by virtue of section 10(7). Is it clear? Okay, now we just move to the third MCQ. This voluntary retirement compensation, ma'am has just before deduction has taught and took the illustration also. So I hope this all should give the correct answer, because just 15 minutes back you have read voluntary retirement compensation. Mr. Hari received voluntary retirement compensation of rupees 8 lakh after 30 years, 2 months of service. He still has 5 years of service left. At the time of voluntary retirement, he was drawing basic salary of 15,000 per month, DA, which form part of retirement benefit, 3,000 per month. Compute his taxable voluntary retirement compensation, assuming he does not claim any relief under section 89. A, 8 lakh, B, 5 lakh, C, 3 lakh, D, nil. I am getting the answer C. Most of the answer I am getting C. Anybody saying ki A, B or D? No, so everyone is right, because first of all, in this taxable voluntary retirement compensation was asked. So he is receiving 8 lakh. Then there are 3 other limits. Statutory limit of 5 lakh. Then 2 other limits. What was that? 3 months salary into number of completed year of service, and the last condition, last drawn salary into number of months left. So if you calculate, then the least of all these four will be exempt. So 5 lakh is the least of all. So from the 8 lakh, 5 lakh will be exempted and 3 lakh will be the taxable amount. So these were the MCQ you are testing for the 2 topics. We will meet you in the next topic. After next topic also in the next session, I'll bring out some MCQ for your practice like this also. So just be prepared and be alertive whatever ma'am is teaching you, and just enjoy this phase of learning, this LBC classes. So with this, I guess we can close today's session, right, Shreya?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. I'm very glad students attempted. Some were giving direct answers to me. I don't know if ma'am could see them, but they were mostly right answers. So very good. And in case you found that it was going very fast, then I would request you to just spend some time looking at the notes once you are at home. Do some homework solutions which have been given in the end of this module. So do them as many as you find relevant, okay, based on the topics we have covered. So at least question number 3 you will be able to do. Illustration on standard deduction you should be able to do. So just attempt that. We will discuss the answers in the next class, and we will do some more interesting concepts in the next class. We will do perquisites, we will do taxability, and a lot of solutions on that. That is the most popular in exams, and really looking forward to the next class.
Shreya, just students are asking, so you have uploaded the assignment, na, that notes already?
Yes.
Students, these are already uploaded on the portal, so you can attempt the questions which ma'am has given to you as a homework. So,
and in subsequent classes, you can also download them before your class. So that what happens if you somehow could not, get it when I was showing that slide, you have your own deck to refer to. So you don't lag behind. Okay, like a book should always be with you, na? So the study material is always uploaded before the class. You should download and keep it in your handy with you before the class. Okay.
okay, Shreya, thank you. Thank you, students.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, bye. See you in the next class. Till then, please revise these concepts, do the homework. Thank you. Bye. Yes. Thank